Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
That's Mark. Okay. Joining us today is also James.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well.
Good. And Christian.
Hello.
Which is, I think this will be your last time on the podcast.
That's what I've been told. I've been diagnosed with the virus. So.
Oof.
Oh no.
The corona.
The coronavirus.
Oh, Ebola? H1N1. SARS.
I have
He's got
a unique
hybrid
combination of all of them. Yes.
He's the Petri dish.
He's got Super AIDS for sure.
That sucks. Well, last episode for Christian. We'll make it good. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you've been enjoying the Lorehammer lockdown episodes that we've been releasing.
Yeah.
Every GDJ day. My God.
It's quite a few. It's
a lot.
thing.
I feel like I've spent a lot of time in this studio recently.
Yeah.
Almost like you've been locked down in the studio.
Oh my God, it's true.
He's right.
Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, all this social distancing in here. Like, I can barely see you guys. You're so far away.
But we're all safe from Eric's touches, so that's nice.
My touches can permeate any barrier.
Time
Time
and
and space.
space itself.
Nice. That's fun.
Yeah, we have a couple new people, new members to the Imperial Tithe.
Yeah,
They have
Patreon.
They have decided to
Forgo eating this month.
that's right, and give their proper dues as is right to the Emperor God, the God Emperor of the people.
Are you playing Mad Libs in your
I
mind?
am. Yeah, it's not going well. It's some good brain farts going on today. But let's congratulate and say
Congratulate.
for joining.
Entering into the Emperor's graces.
Absolutely.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
And a curse.
No, just a blessing.
So
The curse is you can never give enough.
yeah. The
Your
curse
life
is that you
is
never
not enough.
feel like you give enough. Yeah. So here's our new members to the Patreon, the Imperial Tithe. Craig, Leraldocasi, Conehead, Dolan, Jeppe, Daniel, or Hepe. I was wondering. Yeah. As our resident linguist.
Hola.
As our resident linguist, where would the
Linguist.
name... Did I not? Linguist.
No, he's
have
an
no
Englist, all
idea.
right.
Daniel, Eferenka, Larson, Cube 404, Nolan, Balder, Taylor, Scott, Imperial Scum, Willis, Ethan, Lucas, Weir, Benjamin, James, Snatch, Dave, Chris, Thomas, Tree Smash, Jasmine, Mike, Matthew, Cookie 270, and Snatch 500.
Sorry. So, Cookie, he donated $270
Oh,
to
that's
us.
not the... Oh, yeah, that was the one time... Wow.
Yeah.
He just one time was like, hey, boys, go eat some cake.
But then Snatch is like, $270, what are you, a child? And he gave us $500.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Snatch. Thank you, Cookie. Whew. Thank you, everyone else, too. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, even $1 is more than Eric's worth in my mind.
It's not wrong.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool that you could probably fit a loony in his beard and it would stay there. So that's got to be
coin
worth
purse.
the loony.
I don't do magic. I just do beard tricks. They're called beard illusions.
But yeah, thanks for everyone who joined.
Yeah.
The other person is Spenny. We had him on our very first call-in ever, and during the episode, he was like, "Oh yeah, I thought I'd just match whatever you guys get for the next 2 weeks for all your effort on the Lorehammer lockdown." So
Little did he know that
our fans are crazy.
2 people would donate $770 collectively, and then on top of all the Patreons, the Imperial Tithe that we are to receive here. So Spenny is a champion in a league all on his own.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't know what to say. Thanks everyone.
Thank
Fuck,
you. Yeah, it's
pretty
so
wild, actually.
It's so crazy to know that, like, even in all this like crazy things that are happening, people are still feeling like Lorehammer is worth contributing to, and that's super encouraging.
Yeah, we've been trying to take it up a notch too. So
big plans,
big things, always.
big things to decide.
So, yeah, if you want to get involved, check out our Patreon. Me and Eric were always tossing around like, how can we make this better for people?
Yeah,
on
what's
our
something we can
Patreon?
offer?
And then we're like,
Yeah.
well, we don't want to do anything. So that's
Right, yeah.
That's out.
Well, we're lazy little pieces of shit.
No,
so-
we do have some things that we think are going to be happening in the summertime once we kind of.
Once the corner.
Our big goal right now is just get that fucking camera working.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
We're gonna do it.
We're going to get there.
If you know how to work a camera, let me know.
Yeah.
But
if you know how to hit the button. We're having trouble.
We can't find the stupid record button on this thing.
We know there is.
what does no battery mean?
Yeah. Plug in what, camera? What? We don't know.
But
anyways, thank
one
you
step
for
at a time.
Yeah, thank you for joining our Imperial Tithe, our Patreon, and anyone who hasn't. We hope that you would critically think about what the podcast means to you and the value you ascribe to it, and we'd be more than happy to take your money.
Yes, sir.
All right, coming up next, we have our community corner.
Yeah. So today's community corner is going to be a commission painter by the name of James or Ani Brush on Instagram.
At him, I bet he would love that.
Yeah. So he prefers display painting and showcase pieces, but he will paint like he'll paint your army to tabletop standard. But like if you want like a really nice centerpiece done, he'll do it for you.
Nice.
Yeah, he paints all types of miniatures from 40K to bolt action, so it's not just 40K stuff. And if you're worried about shipping costs, he's located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. When I went down to Florida a couple months ago, I actually met up with this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's a really cool guy, and like his painting it's good.
You can
like,
confirm.
Yeah, like
can confirm.
his quality, like it's like Ian level painting.
Oh,
like
yeah,
he's an
nice.
amazing painter. And yeah, just like a nice guy. Like
Very cool.
So-
he's not going to take your models and your money and then just disappear.
no. Like he's.
Thank God.
I showed
Oh.
up, and he didn't murder me, so I'm gonna say he's a trustworthy person.
Did he stick his finger in your mouth?
But
It's Florida. It is still Florida.
I mean,
There's a baseline you're working with here.
yeah, no,
You
exactly.
just put that like as in average Florida behavior.
yeah, so check out his Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of him. It's spelled ONIBRUSH.
Yeah, and if you want a link, we'll put it on our Instagram and Facebook post, but Instagram doesn't really link very well. So if you really want it, check out our Facebook, and you can just, if you're having trouble finding it, because we will make sure it's there for James.
Yeah, but yeah, he honestly does amazing painting, and he's
Very
quick
cool,
too.
yeah.
So he'll turn it over and get you happening. So yeah,
Cool.
'Cause
Well-
everyone should be putting painted models on the board.
And anyone who doesn't,
Is scum,
absolutely worthless.
not even valued as a member of society.
I don't want to play them. Their wins shouldn't count.
No, they don't count. I've never counted them.
Well, very cool community corner. Thank you for sharing, James, and joining us. If you do anything 40K related, whether you have your own podcast or you're a YouTube channel or you're a commission painter, literally anything that you create content for,
440K.
that is 40K related, we want to share it for free on our podcast to the people. So get in touch with us. Let us know what you're doing, and we want to showcase you here.
Yeah,
All right?
exactly.
Cool.
Something cool that happened to me this week was I was
Oh,
actually
cool. Yeah. Something happened to you this week?
fuck, what the
What
fuck?
was it? You stubbed your toe again?
I went and I bought groceries and all my ingredients were there.
I'm so proud of you, Mark. Wow. No, we should be happy for him. That's a really good moment.
Yay.
Sorry.
No, I was invited onto a another podcast. It was pretty fun. So the podcast I was invited to was called the Killbox Podcast, and it's a podcast for games, movies, just like news, kind of like in that nerd kind of sphere, and just having fun. So
Oh, these guys are nerds?
they're pretty cool.
I don't
guys.
associate with nerds.
Yeah, me neither.
Never met a
Geeks, though.
one. Oh,
Maybe they're geeks.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just kidding.
Yeah, but Derek, Sam, and Lewis, they were great guys, and had a lot of fun. It was just like 1 hour, and we just kind of talked 40K.
Cool.
and
So it's called Killbox?
yeah, and we talked a lot of Lord of the Rings, which was just what I needed in this dire time.
Did you get
of
it
my
out of
life.
your system?
No.
It just made things worse.
Yeah, if anything, yeah. John texted me today too. He's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm painting a bunch of like Scout Uruk-hai." I'm like, "I need
That's what I needed to hear.
I need out of
right
my
now.
house. I need Lord of the Rings." But yeah, Killbox podcast. I think that episode that I'm on came out Monday, and today is Wednesday, so it should be out. You should be able to find it. We'll include links and stuff. But
we'll link the Killbox podcast.
yeah,
on
for
our show
some
notes.
crazy fucking reason, you can't get enough of me. You're already getting daily doses, and you need another dose of Mark. Go check it out.
I think you're like one of those. What are those things people took to like freak shows?
Demons?
Yes.
Mark is like a personal demon. That
Yeah,
haunts you
Mark's like
wherever
one of
you
those
go.
things that it's like, oh my god, like
He's the
I mean,
elephant man.
yeah, keep looking, like don't look away, but oh wow, like,
He really lives like that?
yeah. I think that's what it is. People are just so intrigued by you as a person. They're like, it can't be real. It's very real.
It's very real.
Yeah. They'll learn.
And crippling.
To his poor little psyche. That's why he was so excited that all of his groceries were there.
On my ingredients.
That's right, yeah. Holy.
So one more thing before we get into the
One
episode.
more
But this
thing.
is cool too. All of these
Yes.
are cool. We are doing a contest, and this contest is all because of Snatch on our Discord. He donated $300 for a contest for the members of our Patreon and our Discord. So the contest is going to be a painting contest, and it's going to be broken into 3 categories, and each category, the first place person will get $100. So the 3 categories are going to be single model. So this is if you have one single model.
So that's like your hero, your HQ, your
Yes.
warlord. So you're judging everything from like a single model. So very like
Yes.
good work. Okay.
The second category is squad. So that's if you have a 5-man squad of Space Marines, a 30-man squad of Imperial Guard. It's a squad of stuff.
Sure.
And the final category is a vehicle or monster. So don't put your Carnifex in the single model. Put it in the vehicle category or monster. So it just kind of use if it has the monster keyword, kind of use your best discretion. If
you're wondering what it would go into, just send us a message. But it should be like a single like model, and then a squad or a vehicle monster.
So those are the 3 categories. Each winner will be getting $100. To enter this contest, you have to do 2 things. You have to be a member of our Patreon, and you can be a $1 member. So it's really no barrier to entry. $1, anyone can afford that. And the second thing is you have to join our Discord.
Because that's where we're going to run the contest.
Yeah, that's where we're going to run it. That's where pictures are going to be. That's where more information's going to be. So those are the 2 things. And it's crazy. Snatch, thank you so much for...
Thanks for stepping up and
so this dude,
like, so we can run it.
Yeah, like this dude literally gave us like $800.
Oh, because jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's madness. It's crazy.
It's
so
madness.
we appreciate it, and we're worth it, obviously.
Did Snatch abandon reason for madness?
He just wants you to use his name as much as possible on the podcast.
His Discord name is Snatch Ping Often.
Snatches muscles are number 1.
His monies is number 1.
His contests are number 1.
Good.
So yeah, once again, check out that contest. We're going to open it up as soon as this episode is released.
Yeah.
Join our Patreon, join our Discord, and then you can follow like how to put your post or pictures and all that kind of stuff in there.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Snatch, for allowing us to run this. Yeah. And thank you to everyone who's going to participate. Obviously, like the more people that participate, the better. We want to show everyone how great our Discord is and how great it feels to contribute to the Imperial Tithe.
Yeah.
And
I guess, the one other thing is you can enter one model in each category.
One picture.
One picture in each category. One model, yeah. One picture, yeah. Yeah, sure.
There is a difference.
Well, if you can only enter one model in the squad, then you're having an issue.
Sorry, one picture. I see what you... Language is one of those fun things, isn't it?
No.
You're constantly
it's not
learning
fun.
new things.
I'm not having fun with language.
Yeah, so you can't put in 5 hero characters. You can only put in the 1.
You get one shot to answer the contest.
One
enter
entry.
each
One
category.
entry.
Yeah, exactly.
One entry per category.
Yeah.
Per person. Per family. Per household.
Per household. Per painting brush.
Yes, you must only use one brush.
Snatches.
I will be watching.
Hard mode, use the other side of the brush. My God.
The wooden part.
That's right, yeah. Just dripping paint onto it. Well, I think that about sums up our intro.
Yeah.
Let's dive right in to our episode that we swore we would never do.
I'm excited for it, actually. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I'm
Some
shocked
cool-
we're doing it. I'm happy, but I'm shocked.
I'm shocked.
Well, not that shocked.
Oh, just like, I'm shocked.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You spicy.
Mark will do anything for $1.
I'll fucking do anything for $1. You want your lawn mowed?
What was this episode originally supposed to be?
Imperial Guard.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more money in Primaris. Games Workshop knows it.
No, I was
We
betrayed.
know.
No,
it.
no,
We
I
know.
was
You know what? This is just a Primaris podcast.
I was
now.
betrayed by a close friend.
Oh, no.
Actually, and that's why we're doing Primaris.
The
Because I
pain,
lost
the
all
pit,
hope. Yeah,
the
exactly.
pit.
In humanity.
Brant dyes his hair and deletes numbers. Mark talks about Primaris and enjoys it.
Exactly.
It's a complete 180s.
Yeah, so this episode is about Primaris Marines. We're going to try to keep this episode as salt-free as possible and give you, like, actual information. So
Absolutely.
I'm just
That
gonna
is our
say
intention,
right
for
now,
sure.
I don't truly believe anything I'm reading.
I do.
My soul is crushed, and I'm just reading the words on the page.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Every word, pure gold. Primaris, best things ever written. I love it. 100% no irony.
Exactly. We're going to go with that. That's the mentality. That's the energy we're going to bring into
That's
this
right.
episode.
I get behind Primaris only because I enjoy watching Mark talk about it. Because I like seeing the light slowly leave his eyes. That's the best part of this entire...
I hope the grocery store sells
Antidepressants.
antidepressants.
Mark and I even only had one big argument during this.
Because he just doesn't care enough to fight anymore.
That was what it was. And then he's like, fuck it, I don't care. You're right. I don't care. And I know he's like just saying that to end it. I'm like, you care. You do care. Fight me more, Mark. And Megan, she was in the other room while we were planning this. And she's like, oh, you guys had like a decent like thing. Like no one was fighting. And I was like, oh, we fought hard. And she's like, oh, I had my headphones in. I was just saying that. And I was like, there was arguments.
Oh, man, the process. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
The creative process.
That's why we deserve paychecks, because we have to put up with each other.
It's emotionally draining.
Yeah, it's tough.
All right, so what
Let's
are
jump in.
Primaris?
Primaris.
Hot diggity.
Just a quick side note. No Primaris in the painting contest.
No,
That's a lie.
sorry.
You have no entries then.
Asterisk. You definitely can submit Primaris.
You definitely can.
Yeah, that was a joke.
It was.
You just won't win, obviously.
Now no one knows what to trust when it comes out of your mouth.
Primaris Marines. What are they? Primaris Space Marines are the newest evolution to the Emperor's legacy of Astartes. They are bigger, stronger, faster, tougher, and more mentally capable of dealing with the warp than their Space Marine ancestors.
Yeah, they are a fairly new addition to the galaxy, only being introduced after the end of the 13th Black Crusade. But that doesn't mean this was the first time that Space Marines had been experimented on for the specific purpose of improving them.
Yeah.
So even though like we talk a lot about how Space Marines were like the Emperor's creation and, you know, he created everything to be perfect, how could you improve upon it? Many different people have attempted to improve upon Space Marines.
And even have.
Yeah, absolutely. And have actually succeeded. So it's not like the idea of creating super soldiers is new to 40K.
Yeah. Having said that, Primaris Marines are new. Like, they're only like 3 years old
In
our real life
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So they're a very new addition
Very,
of
very new.
40K.
And they did not exist in the story prior to their release as a model range. That's one of the big shocks, is that there was nothing, there was no tease, there was no build up to them. It was just a big old like pile, like here's Primaris, here's all the story, here's all the different things that are coming at you, with very little tie into what had previously happened in the history.
Which is kind of strange from my understanding. The way GW usually does things is it seems like they do kind of like
They normally
have a
love
long
setting
process,
things up for lots of times. And that's one of the reasons, like, this was so different. This was a very different turn for Games Workshop to take.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah. So that's what Primaris are. Thank you for listening to our episode.
The
We
end.
did it. We kept it salt free.
Look at that. We talked about how great they were.
Yeah.
Stronger, faster, more mentally capable of dealing with the warp.
bigger muscles, bigger boobies.
That's what we want.
Bigger
That's what we need.
booties.
Both.
They were thick. There's some thick boys in there.
Have you seen aggressor boots?
Ooh. That's some big feet.
Apple
Big
Bottom
feet
jeans.
Yes.
means big hands.
Shoes.
Oh, what?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Space Marines that had been experimented on in the past 10,000 years before Primaris Marines.
Yeah, some precursors.
Yeah.
So Fabius Bile, or he's known also as the Spider.
He just recently got a new model.
He did, yeah, he did.
How very topical of us.
First time ever.
Yeah, we've never done that before.
So Fabius Bile was originally a member of the Emperor's Children during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, although he struck out on his own as to not be limited by the confines of his superiors. And like Fabius Bile, he's old. Like he's originally from Terra.
Yes, he was the one of the original batch Space Marines that the Emperor created on Luna.
Yeah.
Like that's very old.
Yeah, he's OG for sure.
Yeah. He doesn't like anybody either. He seems to have like
No, he's pretty solitary.
he does his own thing,
Yeah.
going around trolling them by himself. He's
Yeah.
a lone wolf.
Or a spider, you might say. A lone spider.
That's the sound spiders
don't
make.
I'm so glad I wasn't.
Where did you go to
wearing
school?
We went to the same school. You had the same
did.
education as me.
I have so many regrets.
So during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, Bile conducted many experimental surgeries on his fellow Emperor's children. Some of the more common enhancements included extra sensitive sensory systems, such as like super enhanced ears, or like being able to see different colors, like infrared.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, stuff like that.
And like, there's many spectrums that the regular eye can't see, and so
Yeah.
he's literally just trying to enhance. Like,
Yeah.
you can hear better, you can see better.
He's
Smell
zooming.
better.
He's enhancing.
Absolutely.
He's zooming.
Yeah.
He's enhancing.
But he doesn't improve the quality of the image, so you're just getting real pixelated.
Eventually, it's just
but-
one pixel. That's all you see.
But some of
My
the more-
God, we've got it. He's going away for a long time.
But some of the more exotic abilities he actually put into Space Marines were like the ability to emit a nerve paralyzing shriek emanating from the vocal cords. Like
Yeah, so this is the kind of the ancestor of noise marines.
very much so.
Yeah.
Like very early.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was known to like stun people in its power, wasn't
Yep.
it? It was like a very
Yeah.
powerful ability.
The weird thing is they're not directly related.
They're not.
It's like
No,
a
no, no.
prelude, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Like a narrative prelude, but not
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, he didn't create noise marines.
No.
Yeah, but it seemed like the idea of them had been floating around for some time
In some
before they
capacity,
actually
yeah.
before they were conceptualized.
Yeah. So yeah, sonic weapons in the mouth. That's always fun. But yeah, he would come up with that laugh.
You're just gonna okay.
Just let it pass. Kristen. Let it pass.
Yeah, but he could come up with all types of bizarre experiments, and often would experiment on the gene seed itself, not just like give.
Yeah, the actual
New
genetic
things.
code he's
Yeah.
trying to manipulate.
Yeah. However, Bile's lasting legacy, though, has been the creation of the new men, or new man.
Capitalized new man.
Yeah. Creatures who have possessed strength and intelligence superior to any human, as well as the worst traits of all mankind. Yeah, so he's kind of creating his own super soldiers. Some of it's kind of based on like Astartes' code, or what would be the right word?
I don't know, their
Genetics.
blueprint.
Yeah, genetics. Yeah.
But they're distinct.
They are their own thing. They're not. They're no longer Space Marines, but some Space Marine things have been included in them.
Yes.
So while not all his experiments are successful, there's a bunch that are horrendous. in
Yeah, like
outcome.
the female, like the mothers, the Astarte mothers.
Was that
Bi-
him?
I thought that was Bile.
The Dominical.
Yeah, the Daemon.
I know. I think that was the-
Daemonculaba?
I thought that was just Hansu.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh,
an honorary
okay.
thing.
Never mind then.
Yeah.
I know one thing that like is current in the lore is that Fabius Bile's trying to get his hands on Primaris.
How is he not though?
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
that's what he's
Well-
working on now.
Sure.
But I think even the model, like we don't know yet, but the model even implies that he's extracting gene seed. You see his one servant extracting it from a.
Yeah, like at this point he must have it.
It's been
but-
200 years.
Sure.
How has the
He's
Primaris?
He's working
Because the
on it.
Primaris
Okay.
are so
Sorry,
good,
James,
they
sorry.
don't die, so he can't get his hands on the gene seed.
They don't die. They're better.
They're just too good.
There's only two that we know have died. One that's on the model of the guy that's extracting GC
and
for
Ab-
Fabius
the
Bile.
one that's on
and
Abaddon.
That's the
There's
only
actually
two
three. There's
Primaris
also-
that have died.
There's one on the base of the jump pack guy too.
Oh, there's also one on the base of the.
Okay, there's
apothecary.
four.
Four
and they're
confirmed
all
dead
accounted
Primaris.
for.
Yes.
we
That's
know where
the
they
only
are.
ones,
Yeah.
and they're all Ultramarines.
Oh, God. Fabius Bile also cloned a Primarch. He cloned Horus himself.
And
Yeah. And that
didn't
ended
he
well.
also cloned Fulgrim too.
Did he?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Isn't that
Someone
the-
cloned Fulgrim.
Isn't that the clone that's like being held by that Necron guy, Necron boy?
I believe eventually he might have gotten a hold of by Trazen.
And just for anyone listening, this isn't the focus of our episode. I know we're going to get emails like, these guys don't know what the fuck we're talking about. It's like, this is just examples. Like,
we're glazing.
We're
Leading
slobbing
into
it
it.
out
Exactly.
there, you know.
This is not the
Primaris is a
focus.
beautiful story that I enjoy thoroughly, and I just want to like give you the surrounding nostalgia, the experience that gives you the
3 years
joy.
of nostalgia for James.
Oh, do you remember 2018?
Those were the good times. in
Before the
Warsaw.
Rona.
Before the dark time.
Grandfather, what did you during Corona? I painted little plastic figurines.
And we loved it.
So Fabius Bile himself has been experimenting on Space Marines, attempting to build better ones for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
Not a new thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have another experimented or changed Marine are the Raptors. So during the Horus Heresy, the Astartes of the Raven Guard Legion attempted to create a new type of Marine using pieces of Primarch DNA that had been supplied by Corax. And apparently he found
Where
this
did he find this
DNA,
DNA?
on Luna.
Yeah.
How
So,
was it deposited?
I know.
no, so
It was provided by Corax.
it was a pretty cool book.
Corax provides.
That's a com joke.
He gets two Astartes to bend down.
So the context behind this is during the drop site massacre, the Raven Guard were basically
Obliterated.
There's so few left. So Corax wanted a new way to create.
He wanted a better and
quicker.
faster way. Yeah.
So he actually went to Terra or Luna and went into the vaults, and he had to like fight all these systems.
The
like
vaults
these-
of the Selenar.
Yeah, and fight all these like defensive systems to reach to the end, and then he found like a bunch of the gene code and was able to use it.
Yeah. But he took his own, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he gave it to the people within the apothecaries within his legion, and he's like, okay, make these Marines more like me.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like make these new things somewhere a step in between Astartes and Primarchs. Obviously, they can't be just like Primarchs, but make them better than what they were previously.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, this entire process was corrupted by the Alpha Legion, and they tampered with the genetic stock that the Raven Guard had and corrupted it using some kind of, I think it was warp magic that it was specifically implied. Yeah. And then, so everything then that they created, these Raven Guard apothecaries were trying to create, would ultimately be a corruption, a mutation of what was intended.
Yeah. But before the corruption, they were stronger, they were faster, and tougher than regular Marines. But Corax ended the program after the Alpha Legion corrupted and no longer made any more. The remainder Raptors were given full honors and allowed to fight. Christian's threatening me with his eyes.
No,
fight
I'm just
and
gonna add
represent
something to that.
their legion from the fold of the Raven Guard.
Yeah, so even though they were mutated, they
Yeah.
were still viewed as sons of Corax, which was actually kind of an interesting thing, because a lot of Space Marines are very much Puritan in terms of like
You
corruption.
love me, Father.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, do you want me? No, like, but I feel like Space Marines very much view any level of corruption beyond like what is accepted within the chapter as like, ooh, like that's too much. Like, don't associate with it, get rid of it, make
Kill
a
it.
servitor, start over.
Yeah.
But Corax was like, no, like I did this. I ordered these made. They didn't ask for it. And
It's been a long time since I read Deliverance Lost. I don't think Corax even knew that the Alpha Legion corrupted it. I think, Christian, you've read
He
that.
knew
Yeah.
they were
book.
corrupted.
It was a long time ago. No, yeah, he knew they became corrupted, but he didn't know why or how. I believe.
So like it adds a lot to this story. Like
because did he just view it as his own failure?
yeah,
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
But the Alpha Legion like infiltrated as Raven Guard
Yeah.
and messed stuff up.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Classic.
Classic.
as Alpha Legion is known to do.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to add too is that the Alpha Legion also took whatever core genetic sample too and have a sample of it somewhere. So in theory, they could produce these new
Sure,
improved Marines.
sure.
I'm just
But
saying.
No,
it's-
that's good
Yeah.
to know.
they
yeah,
create
for
all
sure.
these plot threads and they never follow up.
But wouldn't they specifically have to do it with Raven Guard Marines? Because it's Corax's DNA.
I don't know the details around Space
None
Marine
of us
genetics.
are geneticists.
or
I am.
space
Well,
marine geneticists.
there seems to be some
Gene
sort of
witches.
implication that, like, we've talked about before how your chapter doesn't really, like, your genetic heritage doesn't really affect too much of the culture of your
It
of your
doesn't
chapter.
have to.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, if they just raise
it
them
doesn't
in
really
the culture of Alpha Legion,
yeah.
maybe they could just
And they're
be
both
running
stealthy
raptors.
anyways.
Well, no, I
a non-issue.
I wondered if it was an incomplete thing, like having this like piece of Corax's DNA by itself did absolutely nothing, but using it in conjunction with the Space Marine gene seed, you could grow that and create something beyond. Or I wonder if you could just use Corax's DNA to grow a semi-Primarch. I don't know.
I think it's like Christian said, they probably won't.
Yeah, they
won't ever make it
haven't
up
they
to
haven't
the
talked about that
thread.
for so long.
Yeah.
They're not going to now that Primaris is out, right?
Chaos
But
Primaris?
yeah. But anyways, yeah, the Raptors, they were used as fierce shock assault troops against the Traitor Legions, where the fighting was the most dangerous, and because of all of this, they were like destroyed. Like it wasn't,
And they didn't make any
intentional-
more, so they
Yeah.
viewed as like this is the honorable way to go
Yeah,
out, and
die
to
out
die.
in battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of all this, like Corax locked himself in his tower for a year, and then eventually
guy.
like fled into the Eye of Terror.
Or Terra.
No. Two different things.
Same place though, right?
He'll
it's all in the
back,
galaxy.
though. He'll come back.
Of course.
He's coming back. That big sneaky
Well, he's
boy.
too sneaky. No one's found him
No,
yet.
he's
That's
busy-
all it is.
He's busy thrashing other Primarchs in the
Yeah.
warp.
Watches like he just comes back and it was only like one day from his perspective. He's like, well,
I just went out for cigarettes.
Father?
My children.
what have they done to my boy?
My beautiful boy.
So that's the Raptors.
Yes.
The next one we have some examples of is
Yeah.
the 21st cursed founding. The 21st cursed founding.
Yeah, so there were a bunch of different foundings after the Codex Astartes was released,
Yeah.
and Roboute determined, like, hey, everyone must split their legions into chapters. And
Yeah.
so they had, every time they did, like, what a founding was, they would create new Astartes chapters out of stock that the administratum would have. And one of these was the 21st founding, which is also called the Cursed Founding. And it's one of the larger foundings, actually. When we were looking on Lexicanum at all the chapters that had been founded, we don't think it's the largest, because a lot of times they don't list all the chapters that were founded during these. But this has one of the highest recorded chapters created during this founding.
Yeah. So just to go on that, there's rumored to be 1,000 Space Marine chapters, and somebody compiled a list, and they're like GW themselves have officially named like 320 chapters.
Yeah.
And that includes a bunch that have been destroyed. So the Cursed Founding, I think it has like 7
I think
or 8.
I think it had like 6 or 8 listed, 6 to 8
Listed?
listed on Lexicanum.
Yeah.
So there's it's very crazy how spread out this is and how incomplete the information
Yes.
really is that we have.
That's definitely what I'm leaning towards. How incomplete. So it definitely is one of the larger one in terms of what we know.
but that does not by any means mean it is actually one of the larger foundings.
So the Adeptus Mechanicus was experimenting with gene seed, attempting to perfect and remove deficiencies in the flawed gene seed.
Yeah. And this was like, I believe it was somewhere between M35 and M37, this founding. And so at this point, gene seed has been corrupting and mutating for 5,000 plus years, right? So there's some pretty big flaws within gene seed. Some gene seeds have just been lost completely.
Yeah.
Right? So they were really trying to all right, let's bring it back to how it was. Let's remove these impurities. Let's get it
Yeah,
clean.
it's been
Improve.
6,000 years.
Was it M36?
991 M35. So basically.
Okay, yeah, M36. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So they were attempting to clean it up.
Yeah.
But because of some unknown error, instead of getting chapters with pure and stable genetic stock, every confirmed cursed founding chapter has been well they've been cursed. If that was
What
unclear.
came first? The cursed founding or the cursed Marines?
Yeah.
We're calling this the Cursed Founding.
Why would you do that?
It's all PR.
You're just
It's for-
jinxing it.
No, it's just marketing. Don't worry
Marketing,
about it. Don't worry about it. In attempting to manipulate the gene seed, it seems to have increased the rate of mutation and caused very large and noticeable mutations within these chapters. We even talked about them a couple on our last gene seed episode, where we talked about black dragons who grow like the bone growths out of their body, or even the flame falcons that literally just light themselves on fire randomly. So
Those sound amazing.
but
though.
those are
so good.
Those are all members of the 21st
Yeah.
cursed founding, where there's massive corruption within the
So
gene seed.
cursed in air quotes because
Because setting yourself on fire would be pretty sweet.
that's amazing.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so cool that it just doesn't affect you at all, and
Yeah.
it only immolates your enemies. Like that's a very cool.
Until you get immolated
listen-
by the Inquisition.
Yes,
That part always sucks.
but then you immolate yourself.
But the one chapter that came out of here that I found was really interesting. They're called the Sons of Antaeus, and basically they are bigger, stronger, tougher Space Marines. So this one, there is no listed like curse attached to it. But just wait a couple years and maybe we'll get something.
I think even the implication, though, of the curse in terms of, like, for lack of a better word, genetic Puritan
They were they're
purity
mutated.
of the
they were
Imperium.
mutated
Yeah, right.
beyond what was.
So even if it
expected.
looks good or it has,
Yeah.
it turns out to be an improvement by accident.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended, and it's a deviation from the
Yeah.
norm, which is what the Imperium hates.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
even if it ends up being beneficial to you, it's still looked down on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you're that much bigger now, you have to get all specialized power armor, and that could be the curse even for them.
Logistics. The curse of logistics.
Thank God. I was like,
Well, sure. Like if you set yourself on fire, maybe you set your skin on fire. But what about your armor?
They always
You're just burning inside your armor.
just cooking yourself.
It's hot in here.
Yeah. But there were some crazy outcomes of the curse founding, and this is what another example of people have tried to manipulate gene seed.
Yeah, trying to actually affect meaningful change in this genetic stock. And then one of the last examples that we wanted to share about people trying to manipulate or create better versions of Space Marines is actually Alpha Primus, who was created by the Archmagos Dominus. Is it Dominus?
Yep.
Yeah. Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl himself.
So Alpha Primus was the first true prototype Primaris Marine. So even in like our real life lore, like he came out in the same time in real life as all the
Yes,
other
he did not
Primaris
exist
stuff.
in the story until Primaris Marines
Exactly.
existed.
So he had more modifications than both Astartes and Primaris Marines. The sound was so like
I could hear the disappointment on your face.
so Alpha Primus was even rewritten on a genetic level and not just through organ implantation,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild too.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that like he was pretty much Call's lab rat.
Yeah,
And he's like,
yeah.
what happens if I do this? What does it change?
And he's just, oh God, not again.
But he just keeps getting better, though. 'Cause he-
Well, maybe.
Well, that's the point about this guy is that like all his modifications have made him physically more formidable, but also a wreck. So
Yeah. So he's bigger, stronger, faster, tougher. He was even able to unlock psychic ability in
Yeah,
him.
there was like some
Whether-
genetic thing that potentially Call did that either it broke his mind and it was allowed him to access this thing,
Yeah.
or Call actually engineered some genetic way to tap into the warp.
Yeah.
I don't think either
Yeah.
is fully
No,
explained.
he could very well just be a latent psyker. So.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, that like James was saying, the downside is they were a wreck, and the process left Alpha Primus in constant pain all over his body. And while he was allowed to live and serve Cawl, no other Primaris Alphas were made because of this effect. Like
He's a mess. He
Yeah,
is a
he's always in
psychological,
pain.
emotional mess.
I think now I haven't read the book that this is all described in, but my understanding of it from what I've read on him is that it doesn't feel like quite enough. He still sounds like he's an absolute tank, and that he can just blow through stuff. But it doesn't seem like there's enough drawback in why they haven't made more of him. It just seems like, oh yeah, he kind of is like moody and he hurts, he's hurting, but like I don't know why anybody in the Imperium would care about that.
Yeah.
Life is pain.
It might even just be like the process is so complicated, like
Sure.
you can't really replicate
I don't
it.
think the modifications that were done to him have been changed to be mass produced. I think that's the
Yeah.
main problem. Is
Sure. Yeah.
he was Call's lab rat, and then Cawl is like, okay, this is the effect I want. Like, what do I have to do to make this mass producible? And
Sure.
then so everything that we get is slightly not as good as Alpha Primus because it had to be like creatable over and over and over again in a timely manner.
Sure.
And I think that's like the main reason why there's not a bunch of Alpha Primus.
Yeah. So all that said, that leads us into M30 and the Horus Heresy. The start.
So we go back 10,000
Yeah,
years.
all that.
So those are just examples to show you that people have been experimenting on Gene Seed and with Space Marines for a very long time.
Yeah.
So that's not
And
at least that part of like the Primaris lore didn't come out of nowhere. That people have been
Yes,
manipulating it.
absolutely.
Because I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, who would dare modify
Hold
the
on,
Emperor's
hold on.
perfect?
Many people would
Hold on.
attempt.
I've heard-
attempt.
Hold
Yes.
on. Go
Lots of
back through
people are
that
trying.
list. Go back through that list and tell me how many are heretics and how many are Primarchs.
So Fabius Bile is
My point is
Primarchs.
no.
So Fabius Bile is a heretic.
Yes.
The Raptors are not.
No, but
Neither is Korax.
but Korax was the son of the Emperor. Primarch is a different
and
level.
no one in the 21st Curse founding.
Sure, but were they
and that's
intentionally
37 people.
You goddamn
were
idiot.
they trying to improve or were they trying to clean up what was already there?
are loyalists.
Both. They were trying to perfect
And look what happened.
and
they were cursed. no.
Manipulating it does
Yes.
not
The
make
other
you
thing,
a heretic.
The other thing I want to add, well, I mean, debatably, the other thing I want to add is
According to the Imperium,
even the
it does-
Korax thing with the Raptors, that was relatively new. Like that.
So I thought that too. That came out 2011. That book.
Sure, but that's relatively new by like 40K's
That's
been
10
around.
years old.
Yeah, but 40K's been around longer than that.
So what?
And it was
does
bad.
something have to be older than 15 years?
I'm
if
just saying
it's
to
not
consi-
in the original book,
Yeah.
if it's not in,
if it's not in Rogue Trader,
The idea
It
of the
doesn't
Raptors
count.
evolved over time, though.
Yes,
because that's not
yes.
their original thing.
Yeah.
They kind of remodified that when they went back to write the Horus Heresy book, as they do.
Sure.
I'm just saying there's also precedent for the other side because I'm definitely on the other side. Anyways,
Oh, I'm
carry
on the other
carry
side too. But
I'm trying to not pour too much salt.
I thought we said
dash of salt.
I thought we said no salt.
No, just a sprinkling, just a flavor
Just
for
some
flavor.
Salt Bay, yes. Some flavor.
little pinch, you know.
So now that you know people do manipulate Space Marines and attempt to create them better, now let's talk about the actual history of Primaris themselves. So, and it does start all the way back in the Horus Heresy.
Yes.
M30. In the aftermath of Horus's rebellion, Primarch Roboute Guilliman charged Belisarius Cawl to create a new breed of warriors. In order to do this, Roboute gave him the Primus Portum, which contained the complete genetic information of all 20 or potentially 21 Primarchs. So this was like a relic that was kept within Luna, within the gene cults that Roboute took and was like, no, Belisarius.
Belly.
Belly boy.
You're gonna need this, and yeah. So it was given to him by Roboute. It's not
Yeah.
like he went and found it or went on a mission to claim it himself
Yeah.
or something.
But did Roboute steal it?
I don't know.
Booty
Who cares?
is the grand.
This isn't about
whatever
Roboute. This is
of
about
the-
Primaris.
He's the grand
I thought we
master.
were talking about Bile.
He's the grand master of the Imperium. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Now, but not then.
No. Well, time is relative, Christian.
Yeah.
My God. So, Archmagos Dominus Belisarius Cawl is an oddity among the Mechanicum, as he doesn't value the seeking of old knowledge as his life goal. Instead, Cawl is an innovator, creator, and inventor.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that you find someone within the like cult mechanicus
Yeah.
that isn't set very clearly in the old ways
Yeah,
of
like
tradition
one
and
of
ritual.
one of the part of their religions is the search for knowledge, which is literally going out and claiming all knowledge, and that is like a religious aspect of it.
And then and to so clearly
Yeah.
be
It-
opposed to that, it
yeah.
really makes him an outsider
Yep.
from everyone else in the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah.
Cawl is also a unique case, though, because he also doesn't even know who he is. Like his
Well, that
memory's been wiped.
he's changed himself so many times that he's lost.
He doesn't
who
even
he
know,
is.
though.
Yeah, he's lost it.
No, but he doesn't even know who's changing his mind either. Like he doesn't know if it's himself or they leave it as a mystery.
They've done a
Sure.
lot of things with his character that you can kind of just you can leave it well open to interpretation
yes.
as to what is happening with him.
Yeah. But under orders from Guilliman, Cawl worked on his secret project for the next 10,000 years, waiting for the time when his Primaris Marines would be needed. He created tens of thousands of Marines with better war gear for them to use. And yeah, like,
So an odd thing is
it's a lot.
an odd thing is it says here, like even Lexicanum confirms that he created tens of thousands of Marines. Mark and I actually think that number is significantly higher. We think
Hundreds.
it exceeds 400,000 Primaris Marines that he actually created.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later about why we think that's wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, he created many Marines, and he did completely create like a brand new line of war gear,
Yeah.
vehicles, armor, weapons for them to bring into battle.
Yeah. So he had access to special STCs that allowed him to grow 3 extra organs that are unique to Primaris Marines as well.
Yeah.
So these are really what make Primaris Marines. Like the war gear, anyone can use the war gear, but
Yeah.
these 3 organs are what make them, just like what makes
Genetically
a
different.
Space Marine
Yeah.
is the gene seed. So now we jump ahead. So we're in M30. Now we jump ahead 10,000 years to 999.
99
M41. And this is the Ultima Founding and the Indomitus Crusade.
So
Good times.
they were the best of times.
The best of times, the worst of
No,
times.
no, they were not the worst of times. They were only the best of times.
So while waiting for his new project to be unveiled, most of the newly created Primaris Marines were held in stasis. And they were referred to as the Awoken once his Cawl's project was revealed. But while they're in stasis and they're because they still have to go through training, so they undergo psycho conditioning and training while asleep for close to 10,000 years. So they awakened as fully hardened warriors capable of fighting, as well as veterans of entire campaigns. So even though their stasis training gave them this advantage over just a brand new recruit, they were noticed to be inexperienced and tactically inflexible, something that probably most likely disappeared with the creation of the new Primaris Marines and their more versatile war gear loadouts that they're capable of taking now.
Yeah.
Because when they were first introduced, it was intercessors and
Yeah, just a couple things. But
yeah, very few foot slogging things. And now they have more capabilities and more war gear. They can fulfill more roles within the battlefield. So
Yeah, from my understanding, early on, they were actually just slaughtered quite heavily just because they couldn't.
they couldn't
weren't-
handle everything that
Yeah,
all
they
the
weren't-
other old Marines could.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
old Marines are just the experience of it, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I
Don't
think they
charge gunfire headlong.
Well, they just made it seem like the new Marines just were kind of a little bit incompetent, the VAT grown ones. And I think there's just a general trend in 40K that something from a VAT just has like a
Yeah.
weird, like little bit like limited
yeah.
capability.
Definitely does. There's many
Death Corps
examples.
of Krieg, we're looking at you.
Primarchs, we're looking at you.
There's many examples of things that are grown
Emotionally
in vats
stunted.
not actually being as good as things that are grown biologically, like normally.
I don't know. That
And
sounds
clons are even worse on that
That
list.
sounds like some
That sounds
pseudo warp
bigoted.
science. Oh.
And
Yeah,
Are we just
grown
talking about the
babies.
B word all of a sudden?
So yeah, just
Wow.
the idea is that like for whatever reason, this first wave of them really didn't perform very well.
Yeah. One thing to note too is when they're in stasis is like complete time stoppage.
yeah, they're not aging. They're not.
Yeah. So
So it is that their neurons are firing and they're
They're
gaining
not.
information through
they shouldn't be
psychoconditioning.
though. It definitely
Well,
would
maybe
be.
that was just Cawl saying that as like a selling point.
Maybe, yeah. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, I
he's
trained these guys for 10
bad
They
warriors.
charge
Yeah.
headlong into combat, just like totally
They're
inexperienced.
just like
And all
getting
all the
mowed
commanders
down.
then just look at Cawl and he's like, "Ha, bad batch."
They're just all dying. 10,000 died in an afternoon. Oh yeah, don't worry. That was the first edition. The next one will be better.
Slaps the head of the Primaris.
These
Bad boy.
they fit so many psycho conditionings in it. 10,000 years worth.
they just explode.
No, but it's easy to say like they stopped the stasis gave him a bunch of training,
Programming,
put
yeah.
him back in stasis.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
But just to clarify, when you're in stasis, it's like a complete stoppage of time. Like
That's how
time,
Roboute survived with his throat cut, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could very well be wrong on this.
I think you are.
I agree.
my vote is yes.
Yeah. We got 3 yeses.
I do believe some Horus Heresy Marines were converted to Primaris and then put into stasis.
Interesting.
I could be totally misremembering.
I do remember something like that, but I don't know
Vaguely.
where from.
Now, it could also be that they were just Terran born, which makes sense that he'd collect his raw recruits from Terra and then just slap
Was
them
he
into
so close?
stasis.
He was on Mars. So.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it makes sense that we would draw his pool of recruits.
Yeah.
But for some reason in the back of my mind, I feel like there's some veterans that actually...
So
Maybe that's
totally
where he
possible.
got his number, his success rate of changing old Marines
Yeah,
to
that,
Primaris
that's
Marines.
exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
Gonna say, but yeah.
Yeah, but
So
I could
he
be, I
had
could
actually
be
already
wrong.
done it. Interesting. Yeah,
Could be
It's
wrong.
possible.
If someone knows, that'd be really interesting for us to know.
If
like
100%
what
there is a
chapters
quote.
did they
just
pull that from?
Send that
right?
to jamesiswrong.com or whatever that email is.
Yeah, what was that? James is a dumb bitch.
James James complaints or something.
Oh yeah, James complains. I wonder. I should make that email and just see if that
See what shows up.
Yeah.
So upon the resurrection of Roboute Guilliman, his pilgrimage to Terra, and he proclaimed himself the Lord Commander of the Imperium, Cawl was finally ordered to reveal his long-held secret.
His 10,000 year.
Yeah.
If you got a secret, you could trust Cawl.
Yes, absolutely.
He might not
guy-
remember it himself.
That guy is a fucking vault.
Yeah.
He's just like at whatever Mechanicum church talking with his buddies. Cole, what did you do on the weekend?
I've never done anything.
Yeah. Nope, never once.
He's got an entire field of like hundreds of thousands of bats and breeds. No one knows about it somehow. What's in there?
Well, no, that's just the bathroom.
But every once in a while he slips and he tells it and he's like shit. So then he
kills them.
he infiltrates them and like tries to delete their memory. And
No, he just kills
good
them.
stuff. So at this point he had created, we think, hundreds of thousands of Primaris Marines, whereas they say only tens of thousands. Half of them, and this is why we think that number is wrong. So half.
This is why we think Games Workshop's numbers are wrong.
Well, we.
You could do a whole episode
Come
on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So half of these Marines that he created were organized into new chapters with the Ultima founding, consisting entirely of Primaris Marines. So brand new chapters in the Ultima founding. And the other half, fully half it says, were formed into the Unnumbered Sons. And these Unnumbered Sons is where we get our bigger, better numbers from.
Right, but how can you get those numbers if they're clearly called the unnumbered?
Sorry, do you know what the Unnumbered Sons are, Christian?
They're
Clearly unnumbered is what they are.
Yeah, okay. I think we're actually going to talk about them.
Right.
Should we do it right now?
Yeah, so we'll just keep going through the notes. With our Primaris pieces in place, the Indomitus Crusade was declared. It became the largest crusade since the Great Crusade, led by the Emperor himself. And so this is where the number we get. So there was fully like 9 legions worth.
The Unnumbered Sons made up 9 legion-sized armies.
Yeah.
That is why we said legion numbers were not limited to 1,000 Marines. Sometimes they measured over 200,000 Marines.
Yeah. So apparently on average it's 100,000, but some
Yeah, some are 250, 500, I think was
Sure.
Guilliman at
Yeah.
some point. So
we said very conservatively, okay, what if every legion only had 50,000 Marines in it? That's 450,000 Marines just in the Unnumbered Sons alone.
That's half
Of 900,000. So he technically created potentially almost 1 million Marines.
Yeah.
And that's why we think their number is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
and
hold
there's
on.
even another thing. So at the very end, spoiler alert, the Unnumbered Sons get disbanded, and when they get disbanded,
Absolutely, yeah.
after 100
200 years.
No, 110 years is the Indomitus
okay.
Crusade. There was 20,000 of them left.
Just the Unnumbered Sons.
And that's
These
after,
are not the chapters that were created by the Ultima founding.
yeah,
And that's supposed to be like a devastatingly low number to show how heavy the fighting was.
yeah.
So if that, I don't know. I think their numbers are off when they say only tens of thousands.
2 minor counterpoints.
Yeah.
One, tens of thousands could be.
That
It's
doesn't-
a
no,
weird
it's
way
good-
of phrasing
yeah.
hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
but you theoretically.
No, you wouldn't use that to describe anything beyond 200,000.
Traditionally,
Because then
no,
you
but
would use hundreds of thousands.
Yes, traditionally, but that
Sure,
doesn't
but
mean you can't.
Yeah, like
you're not wrong.
You could have $1 million in $100 bills. So you could have hundreds of $100 bills. But, the implication there is different.
I have a $1 bill.
Sure, but when you're trying, when
It's
you're
a
not,
dumb way of
when you're
wording it.
trying to
I'm just trying to defend it.
when you're
okay?
Where'd you
trying
get
to
it?
America.
when you're trying to describe you're trying to describe the
mass.
feeling
Yes.
of what this is, and using tens of thousands when you've created close to 1 million potential Marines is the wrong way of doing that. And so, sure, maybe
You want to use the number a lot.
absolutely they should have
3
created
to 4 a lot.
They should have, yeah. I don't know. I think they should have been a little more careful in how they said this because it. I don't know. I think they did.
It's
this
just one of those problems. They probably just had two people writing
Sure.
those two different parts.
Or it's intentional.
They're just trying to throw us
Something
off the- they're
fishy's
trying to
going
throw
on.
us off the scent.
Cawl doesn't want you to know what he's up to.
Still keeping secrets.
Hold on. And a second minor counterpoint.
Okay.
How do you know he wasn't making them concurrently? Because 110 years of crusading, theoretically, he could be producing replacements. He could be producing more.
He wasn't.
Is
There were
fake?
vaults. There were vaults placed all throughout the galaxy where they were, and he just went and awakened new ones up.
Yeah. And the unnumbered suns account for the ones that were originally made. They actually have a bunch of different titles depending on where and how you were made.
Yeah.
And the unnumbered suns is like a title specifically for this category.
That was
of
specifically
Marines.
at the beginning of the Indomitus Crusade.
Yeah.
It was the Unnumbered Sons.
So no Marines get added to that. So other chapters were making Marines, but they were never added to the unnumbered suns.
I find
No,
it
I
hard
just
to
think- I
believe
just
that
think
you
Games
wouldn't
Workshop is-
try to replace battlefield losses even as they were happening.
But they weren't called. They weren't part of
They weren't
that
inducted
initial.
into
They
that.
It's
weren't
almost
part of
like
the
it's
initial-
almost like a
Unnumbered Sons.
campaign
Yeah.
bash. It's like I'm part of the original squads that were
Sure, but even
created.
original squads
So
get
we'll get
replacements.
No,
into
not
it
this
later.
one.
Yeah, not this one. So when we get into it later,
Sure, but what if they all got wiped out?
as we
that would be
progress
dumb.
Then they
through
lose.
as we
What happened?
Oh, we gambled and we lost because we were too dumb to replace our casualties in a
They are
campaign that's
replacing,
over
they're just
100
not
years
going
long.
into
Paul
the
wasn't
one
replacing
section.
them. Space
Indeed.
Marine chapters at that point were beginning to replace them themselves. The Unnumbered Sons were never meant to be a thing. It looks like
Yeah.
every time I read this, they were meant to
Sure.
just all right,
Yeah.
bulldoze through, and then when you're done, like you're done.
Again, that's a bad way to do
Welcome to
things.
Games
Okay,
Workshop.
okay.
But you have a
Just let
problem
it
with
be-
them
let
saying
it be-
10,000?
Let be known. Let it be known that Christian thinks he's smarter than Guilliman because he's the guy. Guilliman is this dumb guy, but Christian.
Oh,
let
he
me
can't
just
even
ex-
survive a throat wound. Guilliman.
I could kill a cougar.
With my bare
Oh my god, it's not even hard.
Oh my god.
Let's see Guilliman top that.
So unnumbered sons. So there's hundreds of thousands of them, of the unnumbered sons of Astartes.
Allegedly.
You son of a bitch. But
God
there's also trillions of guardsmen. There were, Sisters of Battle. There AdMech forces. There's everything in imagine. There's custodes.
I was
there's
going to say,
sisters-
this is where Custodes
Yep.
came out of the Imperial Palace.
Yeah, there was a whole
Yeah.
bunch of like the first.
They
few campaigns.
reformed the Sisters of Silence for this, didn't they?
They
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
them back as a fighting.
Yeah,
force,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So literally every element of the Imperium
was
has
like,
been
all right,
military.
we're here.
Yeah,
like
we are
this is
doing
the
this.
new Great Crusade, effectively.
Yeah, Guilliman's turning it up.
Yeah.
He's turning it up from 375 to 400.
That's some spicy heat.
That's right. That's how you cook a pizza.
That's how you capture a galaxy. That's how you cook a pizza.
Cooking with James. Have you ever wanted to conquer the galaxy? Well, spread that cheese thick, because that's how we like it in this kitchen.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So, along the crusade, though, emissaries of Primaris Marines called the Torchbearers were sent ahead of the main fleet to existing Astartes chapters. With them were brought new STC templates for war gear, as well as the process for making new Space Marines.
The Primaris Marines.
New Primaris Marines. So they were making new Primaris Marines, Christian, but they were a part of the chapters and not a part of the unnumbered
They were
sons.
not the awoken people.
Sure,
Yeah.
but
They're not the vat born.
Yeah.
They're growing them like.
does it say exclusively? 'Cause
Yes.
both can
Yes,
still
it
exist.
does. No.
Where? Show me a page number.
437.
Okay.
42.
Yeah, no, and also that one, yeah.
Of course.
Of a different book, but the title you have to figure out on your own.
No, like they're two very different ones. So they are still making Space Marines. So these torchbearers, they went ahead to chapters, and roughly 94% of chapters accepted the Primaris Marines because it's super heavy fighting, right? Like all these chapters are being pushed back to their very limits. So
this is the hardest, most grueling fighting the Imperium has seen for 10,000 years. So, any reinforcements come, like, even if you're a little bit reticent, like, as I said, 94% accepted. There were still those 6% holdouts, probably all Dark Angels. No, that was a joke. So don't send us an email.
So like the Blood of Ball.
Yeah.
This is like basically one of the books that introduced Primaris into the universe for Blood Angels, and the idea of that is that basically a whole bunch of the chapters were completely wiped out fighting the Tyranids, and even though very few that were left were basically stripped down to almost nothing.
Yeah.
So. I'm assuming that's basically what the situation is across the galaxy.
Exactly.
Like,
They desperately
we have like
needed them.
30. We have 30 Blood Angels left, and now we need to like start filling it up. So like, it's almost weird to see Squat Marines at all
Yeah, they should be
when you
very
have
rare.
like because that book
There should be
basically
6% Squat Marines to 94% Primaris.
well like but that's the thing is that those books that talk about like the Indomitus Crusade coming through. It's like there's nothing left of these chapters. Basically,
Yeah.
you need,
and not
you
every
need these.
chapter is affected the same. Some went through much less casualties, but I do agree with the sentiment you're trying to share. Is that this was they needed the Primaris.
Yeah.
This was a necessity. It wasn't like I guess we'll accept Primaris. It was like, God damn, we desperately needed an infusion of warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've seen a lot of people like commenting on like, oh, I see a Flesh Terror as Primaris, and it's like, yeah. So Gabriel Seth isn't super keen on them, sure, but like he's probably only got a few Marines left after fighting off.
But a true man of character doesn't bow to what he needs. He stays true to his convictions.
And then he dies. Cool.
Exterminate.
Good job.
Your convictions are exterminating.
So the Indomitus Crusade pushed through system after system, reclaiming and freeing many planets that had either fallen to chaos or even just Xenos. Like Xenos ran rampant across right now.
Well, yeah,
too,
they
like-
realized that like humanity, which is one of the biggest powers in the galaxy, is on the back foot.
Yeah.
Like might as well take advantage. You know
Yeah.
how many cultist uprisings happened during this time?
Yeah,
that
like
had
the
to be
Tau
stamped
Empire
out?
alone took 2 more worlds.
That's
They doubled their
almost
empire.
doubled. They almost did double.
Along the way, though, chapters of Primaris Marines were also founded to protect their new holding.
Yeah.
So whether this came from more numbers of the Ultima or whether they came from the Unnumbered Sons, either which way,
Unknown.
unknown.
Yeah. Or if they just created them, we don't know. But it wouldn't have been Cawl.
Yeah.
Prove it.
But
Show me a page number.
Even if Cawl did create them, they're
They-
still not a part
yes,
of the
they're not
Unnumbered
that
Sun.
grown.
These are
No,
now
no.
fully different chapters.
Not even Vatgrown. They're not
Yeah.
Stasis Boys.
Yeah,
they're
not-
no longer the Awoken.
Yeah, Awoken and the Unnumbered Sons.
Yeah.
So
So after around 100 years, the Indomitus Crusade began to break down. So with resources, including Primaris, being stretched to their absolute limits. It was only when Guilliman heard news from Ultramar that the Plague Wars were developing into some serious, long-lasting issues that he called an end to the Indomitus Crusade, and he went and dealt with the Plague Wars.
yeah. So that's funny. I don't know.
Wasn't that plague was...
Well, I'm done. I'm
Well,
going
the
home.
plague was it was meant to distract him from the Indomitus Crusade. It was a plague specifically designed that it was only curable when in the presence of Guilliman. Wasn't that?
happened 100 years before.
Oh, that happened at the beginning of the Indomitus?
So when no. So when Roboute Guilliman wakes up, this is when that plague happens. He's
I
going around
see.
Ultramar. People only are healed when they're around Guilliman, and as soon as he leaves. So this was a
It
distraction.
was trying to keep him from Terra.
Yes, sir.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either which,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course.
we Warhammer, we are all knowledgeable. So
Yeah, him and Morty, those boys slapping each other about.
yeah, so Roboute Guilliman's like he has to go look after his 500 worlds, so he calls an end to the Crusade. I'm sure there's still Crusade elements, like people are still pushing here and there or whatever, but ultimately when the Lord
Peters
Commander,
out. Yeah.
But so the remaining 20,000 unnumbered suns were reformed into new chapters, and the Imperium as a whole could take a moment of reprise.
Existing
A breath. Before the punch.
Dasani.
Not an official sponsor of the 40K podcast.
But could be if you want to.
It's just a Primaris Marine drinking water on a backdrop of a world exploding behind him, and just take a breath, take some Dasani.
Is he wearing a helmet or not?
No, why would no? He's just pouring it. He's pouring it through the grill. Excellent. So existing Astartes chapters became more familiar with Primaris, happily and readily accepting them into their ranks, either during or after the Indomitus crusade. Their presence is felt throughout the galaxy, and they will continue to be made and to fight for humanity.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just want to add something about the unnumbered suns.
Yep.
Something I found very interesting is that even though they were all made and wore the heraldry of their gene sires, they fought together.
Yeah.
So there were squads with Imperial Fists, with Raven Guard, with Ultramarines, all Primaris, shoved in the same thing, meant to foster unity between the different genetic brothers. And then after this, some of them were split up and either sent to legions or chapters that they came from, or to create their own.
Yeah.
It was after that they broke up, then they stuck with their genetic brothers. But during the Indomitus Crusade, they all fought together. And I thought that was a very interesting thing, because you do not see that very often.
Yeah, we talk a little more about like their heraldry too and stuff coming up, but yeah, it's very different.
Very different for the unnumbered suns specifically.
And apparently one of the reasons why was just to kind of keep the divisions that happened in the Horus Heresy, which Cawl was around and seen happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like from happening again. Like, if we all understand each other.
If we all just talk,
we just sing Kumbaya.
And the other thing is, apparently, I'm pretty sure 98% of all Space Marine chapters now accept Primaris. So originally it was 94, and then like that was the original Torchbringer number, but now it's like 98% of all chapters accept it. So there's, what would be the number? Only 10 chapters that don't? That's
very, very, very few.
One of them is Mark's chapter.
Yeah, but like you can't even say
that's just a logistic
I don't
error.
know if you could like say that there's only 1,000 chapters now.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's very reasonable to say that there could be twice as many.
Absolutely.
Like
An infusion of
know
almost
about-
double Primaris Marines, but a lot of them died.
So here's why I don't think double. I think it's very similar number. Is because on our high end they made 1 million Marines, so it doubled right there. But all the
how many chapters were destroyed, and then how many Primaris also died during the Indomitus Crusade?
Sure, but there's no limit.
I'll settle for 1,500.
Shake on it.
Push for 14, Mark. Come on, don't
14?
settle for 15 right away.
I'll do 15 right away.
Damn it!
We'll do 15 right away. There are now
You learn to
15
negotiate, buddy.
No, see, friends negotiate so we both win. We're not fucking savages
No.
like you guys.
You missed the last way, whereas win-win-win, where I, as the mediator,
Also get a cut.
also win for mediating a successful negotiation.
Get out of here. This was me and Jay.
Yeah, I didn't win in this one. This was only win-win. This wasn't win-win-win.
And I wasn't even counted in that one. That transaction.
So, that's kind of a history of how the Primaris came to be, what they are doing, what happened to
how
them.
they were infused into regular chapters, because I don't mind this part of the story. I like the fact that the fighting was so desperate and they were so in need that they had no choice but to accept these guys. It was either like, look, either you die completely or you change. And if you were going to do this, I don't mind this aspect of it. Sure. And the Ultima and the Indomitus
Mark's
Crusade.
clenching his jaw.
Well, I think it's just like it felt like, not to like bring out things outside the lore into it, but it felt like that whole 8th edition thing was very much of a revamp of of the way the company was run, and so it kind of poured into the way the lore is too, with this kind of, it's the new Great Crusade. We're doing this new big campaign. The Imperium is something, it's still the Imperium, but there's something new about it. There's something more aggressive about it, and it kind of matched what the company was doing too. So it just kind of, it makes sense that
it reflects
kind of
real life.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Absolutely.
So biology. So we talked about the 3 organs that are added. So that make Primaris.
Let's explain them.
So the very first one that they got is called the sinew coils. And sinews are reinforced with metallic coil cables, adding another layer of internal defense and increasing their strength beyond that of a regular marine. So their sinews are literally like metal now, metal cables. That's fun.
Just put pistons in your arms.
Yeah.
Just
It's
replace them
bionics.
with- Yeah.
You ever heard of goddamn robots?
But yeah, like the interesting thing is these are gene seed. Like, are these grown? Right. So
They have to eat some metal.
like, I wonder what it actually, if they're literally cutting them open and replacing sinew, or if they're like, all right, this is a biological replacement that's the exact same as like steel on sinew. So I like imagining that all these things have a physical synthetic representation, but they have such a mastery of genetics that they're able to grow them on like.
Grow metal.
Absolutely, yeah.
you can grow.
Yeah, that's a crystal.
But no, but
You
I
can
like
crystalline structure.
I like that
the
idea.
same way
that
like a tyrannid can grow.
carapace, yeah.
Yeah.
Or chitin. Chitin. Sorry, chitin.
Or like how a mantis shrimp can vaporize
Can
matter.
punch. Yeah. Can break the time-space singularity.
I also
Holy shit.
like space marines.
James complaints. gmail.com.
Just flash it on the screen. Like space marines already are insanely strong compared to regular humans.
Yeah.
So like you're talking crazy.
Strong.
Crazy
You're talking
strong.
craziness, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a forklift.
They even make the beeping noise when they back up. That's just like a safety feature of their armor.
This is not canon.
Brother and terrorist, turn around. Stop. Brother, please. No.
It's like that seated Austin Powers where the guy's just standing there. No. And then they got the.
It takes like 10 minutes. So another one of the gene seeds that they have is the Magnificat. So ultimately, this Magnificat was a failed experiment, and it was meant to be half of a whole. The entire genetic organ, the organ was called the Godmaker, or the dual valve immortus gland. So the original version of this was placed inside Primarchs, and apparently this is the source for their perceived immortality.
Crazy.
Like, what made Primarchs immortal was apparently this gland.
Crazy.
And yeah, this is what Cawl was trying to originally recreate. And so he was, because ultimately, like, you have like, all right, what do you model something after? Like, well, we can't recreate the Emperor, but we know he created the Primarchs, so let's try and do that. And that's what he's trying to create, is just these beings that are able to.
An army of Primarchs.
Exactly. But he was
Somebody could model
unable.
that on the table. An entire army of Primaris.
Just reboot Guilliman.
over and over and over again.
But he was unable to find the plans for a complete dual valve immortus gland. Instead, he only builded the what was called the dextrophic lobe, or the right half of this gland. So this Magnificat now is called. It releases hormones that increase the body's growth, as well as intensifying some of the other gene seed functions, such as the osmodula or the biscopia.
Cool.
Which I believe is muscle growth and bone growth.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense because Primaris Marines are larger than their regular Marine counterparts.
Yeah.
So this Magnificat is what's sending both of these gene seed that Space Marines already have into overdrive. And they're like, all right, you were capable of doing this. Like, now take it to level 11. Turn that music up.
Ice cannon.
Yeah. But yeah,
In addition to the beeping, their armor features some hard bass beats.
but yeah, this was supposed to be like the answer to how to create immortal Marines. Was like, he was like, I was going to
Wild.
create an army of Primarchs, and he couldn't do it.
So, a couple of things with that. Then,
Are you just here to shit on this
no,
parade?
I'm asking questions.
Oh, okay.
Are Primaris Marines functionally immortal then?
No,
because that
in the same way the
was always
Space Marines are. This,
Yeah.
it didn't do anything. It did not function how it was supposed
for
to.
their longevity.
It only increased gene seed, increased the body's growth, and intensified gene seed functions. It did not function as it was supposed to at all. Yeah.
And the other thing is like Primarchs. Okay, just for listeners that are kind of newer to 40K, like Primarchs are bigger than Space Marines by a large margin. So you're kind of like scaling everything up.
Well, they can be. Some Primarchs are
Some
just
are
the size of Space
relatively,
Marines.
yes, sure.
Yeah, like Ferris.
No.
Even he
Omegon.
was-
Right, sorry. I always
bad.
get those two confused.
Mixed
I
up.
know. Yeah. Me too.
Even those though are still bigger.
But only
Yeah, because
barely.
all the Alpha Legion Space Marines are known to be slightly larger than regular Space Marines.
But that's an entire legion's worth of Space Marines that are larger than other Space Marines.
Sure. My point is
What is your point?
I don't have a point. No,
That makes sense.
that the upscaling
Belisarian furnace.
because it comes from the Primarchs, organs that the Primarchs are so massive that these guys are going to grow.
Yeah,
another
Yeah.
what is it? Another foot or 2 feet taller they are on average.
I don't know if they ever
It's
say,
hard.
but I would say a foot.
Yeah, because like Space Marines
Well,
range.
there's a range.
Space Marines range from 7 to 8 feet, maybe 9.
But that's a pretty decent range for something that's supposed to be batch and mass produced, right?
Sure.
Like,
I
they're
mean,
supposed
humans
to-
have a crazy.
But we aren't
Height
batch
range.
or mass produced.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot
give me
of us.
50 women. I'll batch produce people for you.
Nobody wants
Give me
that.
50.
Mark, you can't
40.
even do it with the one you have.
Oh, I've done it.
Look,
He's
we
seen
all
the
know
per-
that
he's
you're the
seen
father
naked
of
women.
Christian's children.
Interesting.
The plot thickens. Tune in next week.
So the third organ is my God.
When Mark is voted off the island.
The pot out of the quarantine room.
my wife.
You son of a bitch!
I am your wife.
Takes off wig.
You,
Interesting.
Christian, are not the father.
So the Belisarius furnace.
So this organ is a direct connection between the Astartes' two hearts. It's also called the revitalizer, and in times of extreme stress or trauma, it releases biological chemicals that are very similar to combat stims. And one unique function of this compound is that it aggressively increases regeneration. And then after it releases this biological combat stim or whatever, it has to recuperate and like build up its stocks. So it falls dormant until it's again ready to release. So you better not have another case of trauma.
You don't want to blow your load too early.
No, you got to do it at the right moment. Yeah.
We could do it in small increments over a long period of time. That's my preferred method.
But yeah, those are the three organs that Primaris Marines have that
Yeah.
Space Marines do not.
Yeah. They also, they have all the other ones. They have the ability to spit acid. They have
Yeah.
the black carapace. They have all that still. And the one interesting to note too is I'm even for like Imperial Fist Primaris Marines, I'm pretty sure they still have the ability to spit acid.
They've recovered their loss.
Yes,
genes.
exactly.
Yes,
'Cause
when
they were all-
in the saying Portum Primus or whatever, I said it earlier. Whatever,
Saint Portus Primus.
yeah, whatever it was that was given to Cawl
Just told you what it was.
by Roboute Guilliman, that genetic stock was untainted,
Yeah.
uncorrupted, unmutated. It was
Fresh.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these Marines, even the Blood Angel Primaris Marines, originally created.
They did not suffer from the Black Rage.
Yeah, I just wanted someone else to say it because then when we get complaints, they'll be for you.
No one complains about me. Not a single person has ever complained about anything I've ever signed,
sweet
done.
Mark.
Just send me 50 women. That's all I'm saying. Don't send me your complaints. Just
Yeah.
send me 50 women.
But similarly to the fact that no Blood Angels suffered from Black Rage, also Space Wolf Primaris Marines did not have the curse of the Wolfen.
Yeah.
But more on that at another time. Unless you wanted to go into it right now.
No.
Got to lose some suspense so that they actually listen to the end of the podcast.
Yeah, why else were they here?
I don't even think it will be on this podcast. I can't talk Space Marines and Primaris in one episode. I can
And
only
Space Wolves.
Yeah, I can only
That's tough.
bottle down so much
Rage.
rage. But so Primaris Rubicon
Ooh, the
is
Rubicon.
another very interesting thing about the biology of Space Marines. Primaris.
Yeah, so the Rubicon is the process of surgically enhancing Space Marines into a Primaris Marine.
Yeah.
So it's changing something that's already existed. And the Rubicon, Christian, I'm sure you can give a little history about the Rubicon River back in, I believe it was anywhere between 50 and 30 BC.
And this is
Caesar
where
crossed
Caesar-
the Rubicon
In
River,
Turkey.
I believe.
and
Yeah.
it
And
caused
crossing
a
into
great
Russia.
civil war.
Yeah, Christian?
Would you like to tell
Christian,
us
you
more?
you're the history guy, right?
No,
I thought you loved history.
No, I hate it.
Would you like to tell us how this is directly a comparison of why
I'm
the
sorry,
Primaris
that was
are
too
gonna
fun.
betray the Emperor and mankind.
No.
Why would
We'll
you
save it for a
Why would you
different
betray
episode.
the Emperor, Christian? Why would you do that?
Who says I haven't already?
Why would you do that?
Voices.
Why do you betray the Emperor? Anyways, the Rubicon.
Poor Christian.
Uh,
I wonder if we ever get invited onto Star Lords. Will
No,
he
no,
give
no.
us the same gruff? Probably not.
well, no, it's all scripted.
I'm gonna make you read
There's
your
no-
own
yeah,
lines.
exactly.
I'm gonna make you insult yourself.
I hate myself. I know nothing about the Star Wars.
Wow, now
Or
that I've
the
said
Wars
it out
of
loud,
Star.
I feel like it was true all along.
I had a moment of awakening in the line someone else wrote for me. So since the introduction of the Primaris Marine, many wondered whether the older Space Marines would also be augmented. Not only that, but they wondered whether they should be. It was almost a philosophical and ethical question for some chapters. Well, they view
No, yes,
themselves
yes, yes.
as works of the Emperor himself.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how dare they presume to change themselves into something other than what he had intended. And that was where the philosophy and the ethics came into. Anyways, Cawl had initially claimed that this could be done, and he further suggested that there would be a 61.6% failure rate, so you would die 61.6% of the time. And maybe
It seemed to have a.
it's
more-
very precise though, and maybe that's where it comes from.
Yeah, because he's done it before.
maybe. Yeah, I would
Potentially.
love to see confirmation of that because I think
Yeah.
that would be so cool
Of
to
the
find
Horus
out.
Heresy veterans.
Yeah, how many of
Primaris.
these veterans like donated themselves and they're like, try it on me, and like to lose fully 2/3 of
Yeah, but 2/3 of 10 people is not that much.
How-
I'm just saying.
So
Well, that's
to
a very
get that
small
number
pool.
though, you would have to do it 1,000 times to get that
100
percentage.
times.
no,
No,
because then you would
1,000.
get 61 exactly.
Yeah.
Or 62
point. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, you could have had a half death that you revived and like.
Well, then
I don't
it's
know
just-
what to do
came
with
back.
this one.
Yeah.
Let's jot down a 6.
He's mostly alive.
It's kind of crippled, but
Well,
Yeah.
over 10,000 years, maybe he was doing experiments with.
Absolutely, yeah. But
maybe
I,
one every 10 years.
yeah, but it would be very cool to know whether those numbers came from the Horus Heresy
Yeah.
era Marines.
Yeah.
I just like that continuity personally. To have someone who like lived back then to be
Well, they would have been put in stasis, right?
right, but
Yeah.
still, it's that continuity of like the past.
Absolutely. It's the history come again.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't confirm that. If someone could, that'd be great.
What page number, Christian? 'Cause
Six.
until you give a
page
pa-
6, Eric.
There we go.
I don't know what book.
No.
but
That's
it's on
just the
page
chapter
6.
heading.
Oh, okay.
Called out.
So during the course of the introduction of Primaris Marines, 2 Space Marines underwent the necessary surgeries at around the same time, unbeknownst to each other. So separate of each other, they both decided to do it. Chapter Master Marnius Calgar and Master of the Hunt Corsaro Khan both underwent surgery in their attempts to emerge as Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
So, of the 2 examples above, Corsaro experienced a lot of pain. So much so that apparently new pain lines were seen across his face when he emerged. So it was a really painful thing for him, Christian. Don't make that face.
make that
These
face,
are new
everyone
pain.
has
These are new
struggles.
pain lines, Eric.
From hearing that?
From
From
hearing
this
this.
episode.
No, allegedly. So like I read.
You're getting some pain lines there.
Ooh, that was Corsaro Khan.
Yeah. No, I read it, and apparently he emerged.
Tasty.
So good.
So
Anyways, apparently, when Corsaro did emerge, it was just the pain lines across his face that had been added.
Yeah.
But then Calgar, on the other hand, actually died during his procedure, and there's I think a lot of misconception about what happens during the Rubicon.
misconceptions we've been a part of.
Absolutely, we've spread these falsities, these
Yeah.
lies to people.
Yeah.
So it's known that Calgar died at his operation.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes. But I think that a lot of people believe that you have to die to become a Primaris Marine. And that, I think, is very common. You read the Lexicanum, you read the Wikia, it's very obvious that they say, oh, like, they'll suppress your immune system, you'll die, and then if you can come back, you're Primaris.
Yeah.
I do not believe that is the normal scenario. I think his was a complete accident.
Yeah. So when you read the actual thing, like they talk like very much about how like there's cherubs in the back like singing like
There was a feeling of dread
Yeah.
as soon as, and they talk about his corpse. You know, it's no longer a body that they're operating on.
Sure.
They're singing prayers and hymns to, you know, help guide his spirit. And
Yeah.
as they're sewing up his corpse, 20 minutes later, he like rips himself off the table. So I do not believe that it is intentional for them to kill you during this procedure. I fully believe that was an accident.
Yeah, so then we went through like every Primaris Marine or every regular Marine that became a Primaris Marine.
Especially during this psychic awakening, there's been a lot of
Yeah.
new things going, and there's not one example of another person dying
Yeah.
during their Rubicon.
Yeah.
Not one. And I think it's very misrepresented.
Yeah.
Like the more I read it, like I read Calgar's thing, I think 4 or 5 times while we were doing research. I'm just trying to like, how's the wording in this? Was it meant to die? Was it an accident? You read everyone else's, and truly,
The
like,
guy who's dating him's like, uh-oh.
Damn, I just killed Calgar. I am going to die.
yeah, honestly,
He
like,
was dead when he got here.
that's the feeling you get. You get the
Yeah.
feeling that like everything changed when he died, and like it felt like a different thing. It was no longer an operation. It was now like a funerary rites, and they were
Yes.
just. Did you read it, Christian?
I didn't read it.
I know, you
but I'm
should
going to
read
offer
it.
some counterpoint.
You should read it.
Potentially. Okay.
No,
it
you
comes.
should definitely
Here
read
it comes. Here it goes.
Okay.
Spewing hot
Here-
vomit all over.
No. Why?
Just open
why-
your mouth and accept it.
Why do you think?
So,
bird me.
so one, Calgar, because of who Calgar is, any no-name Marine can die on the operating table. Not a big deal. And come back, and they're like, oh, okay, another one. Great. But because Calgar is Calgar, it's this big deal for him to cross. Second, being one of the first.
What does that have to do with it being intentional or non-intentional?
Well, because one, like, oh, again, being the first, they're like, oh crap, we didn't mean to kill him. We didn't know that's what would happen when we did this.
He's not
And
the
then
first, though.
Then it becomes well, he was one of the first.
No. It is not confirmed that he is the first person to undergo the procedure. It is confirmed that him or Khosrow Khan is the first person to successfully go through the procedure. So if every single other one dies on the table, how do you know whether
But then they stay
it's
dead,
successful
though.
or not?
Right, exactly. But
well,
then they stay dead.
Well, then
So
you would assume,
up until
fuck, it
that point,
died,
right.
he's
Up
gone,
until
there's
that
another
point,
failure.
exactly.
So I'm
Nice
saying it's
to
not
be in
intentional.
the argument for once. It's nice to not have Eric's hot hatred spewed upon me for once.
That doesn't mean it's intentional.
I always for whatever reason I thought I was under the impression that it was
Because-
that you weren't supposed to die. Like you were close to death, and then they put you through this, and then it's like a 1 in 3 chance you make it out of it. I didn't think that you had to die.
Yeah.
I was not under that impression.
We've definitely shared that they kill you during
And then
this
they bring you
procedure,
back.
and then
yeah.
the
I was-
whole
Your
purpose is to
Belisarius furnace kicks
Exactly.
Maybe I was under that impression in the past, but that's not my current.
which is good
understanding
because
of it.
anytime I read it now, any other description I've read of the Rubicon being passed, I do not get the impression that the death is intentional. I read it as a pure like, my God, we fucked up.
All they need is like a finger, though.
My Lord Calgar.
Like you got Ragnar's broken body. All they got left is his left pinky toe.
There,
We can rebuild him.
there has been a couple things like the first. So Marnie's Calgar is the very first also description we have of someone passing the Rubicon, and I think they did it really well. I
good.
really enjoyed that. And then later on, we're like, oh, okay, we see a pattern. Every single Space Marine to ever pass the Rubicon has been beaten to a bloody pulp, and now the only way for them to survive is to become a Primaris. I'm tired of that. Personally, I don't like that. But
Get your salt the fuck off.
Calgar itself, I think, was really well done in terms of how they described it. And man, read it. You need to read it.
Okay, I'm not like hardlining a trench here and like, no, this is the way it is. I'm just offering alternative opinions, like alternative medicine.
Sure, but bring
It
it.
may or may not be true.
Christian, you shouldn't be doing either of those. Do not advise
I'm
people
just-
on medical
Give
things.
me a
Listen,
source.
you want
as
to become a
why you
Primaris?
think-
I can make you a Primaris.
Drink this.
Give me a source as to why you think that you have to die. Because when I read their source as to why you think you have to die, I do not agree with what comes out of it.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's fair. I'm not saying that that's necessarily
then
not the case either. I'm just
As
offering
more
up
and more battle
alternatives.
brothers cross the Rubicon, the success rate seems to increase, with the chance of death becoming fairly small. As well, the introduction of 3 new organs, the Rubicon is being used as a type of resurrection, giving Marines a new life after sustaining wounds that would normally have killed them.
Yeah, that's the one where I come with a little more like "Mah," with, but
like
it's happening. But it's happening.
I like the idea that they're getting better at it and that it's improving success rate, because since they're making so many of the old Marines are becoming Primaris, it kind of like, okay, it's less of a like pain in the butt for them to be like, oh yeah, now we have this other guy has now like.
I would almost prefer that personally. 40K just needs new heroes. Well, that's just bigger point.
Whatever.
I won't derail too far.
Whatever.
With it,
Either way, like the idea that since they are making new heroes like Torgaradon and there's a whole bunch of new guys.
Yes.
But the idea that they're bringing,
I think Torgaradon is also ascended though.
Whatever.
But
he's a new.
But
hero,
he didn't
though.
have a model.
Yeah, he's a new
I
guy.
don't even think he had lore.
Either way,
What
was the Raven Guard guy?
Shrike.
Shrike.
Yeah,
Shrike.
he
Shrike
ascended.
is definitely ascended.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It makes sense that they're getting better at this process, and there's now all these guys are like, okay, well, it's super. Like, why wouldn't I do this? I'm gonna get beefed up. Yeah. Might as well go through this.
Just
Rubicon
go to the
thing.
gym. Why are you always taking the cheap and easy way?
Oh, juicing.
Yeah.
I'm juicing that Primaris juice.
A surgery? Cheap.
Gotta make those gains the hard way.
Yeah.
So Primaris Rubicon, it's pretty cool. Like
It's very
ultimately,
cool.
as much as I dislike Primaris Marines, I don't ever want to see regular ones again. I want everyone to cross the Rubicon.
Yeah.
That should happen.
I will say though, and again, the whole thing with like, okay, people on their deathbed, when you have like invaluable heroes or characters that like have a lot of wealth of experience or knowledge or whatever, like someone like
It would be
Calgar.
a great loss to the chapter.
Exactly. So to lose them on a stupid surgery that they didn't have to do, that's why whether or not Dante will or will not go through this process, I think, is a big question.
Could you imagine?
Yeah,
if he died?
exactly.
I kind of.
Oh, that would blow
I'm a huge
my
Blood Angels
mind.
fan, so I would love him to die and then get replaced with somebody else.
Oh,
honestly,
because
just
that would be
he's
so
old.
brutal,
Yeah.
though. Like,
such a
just
way
like
to
the-
go, just
yeah.
crossing the Rubicon.
Yep.
No, I don't want him to
Yep.
die that way. I want him to die.
oh, I would love for him to. I would
Die
love
on
for.
the
I would love
operating
for
table.
someone very popular to die while crossing the Rubicon. I
Yeah,
really
it would
hope they
add
do
such
that.
a heavy weight to that.
Yeah, it makes it so much more of like a risky thing. Like,
Yeah.
should they? Should they
Right.
not?
So
Like,
that's-
is it worth
Eric,
it?
so that's what brings me actually to the point that you were complaining about is like, oh, why do they have to wait till they're like on their deathbed to resurrect them? It's like, well, we wouldn't have tried, but now they're going to die anyways. We might as well roll that dice.
No,
right?
no. I hate how effective it is.
Sure, yes.
I hate
They
how
always bounce back.
I hate how
yes.
everyone they've described as doing it has successfully
Yes.
been like. They just need to start saying like, "Hey, this captain who actually tried, he died. He's a dead guy. Did not come back."
No, not Captain.
Yeah, Captain
Captain
of,
McCaptain face.
but he wouldn't be captain of the third. He'd
No,
probably
sir.
be captain of the fourth or fifth or something. Well, not fifth. Fifth is pretty popular too. Fourth or sixth. But yeah, I would love to see
Sure,
a little
I
more
agree with you.
realism
Yes.
in terms of the numbers of deaths.
Yes, I 100% support that.
Okay, let's talk about the organization.
We're spicy. We're spicy. Moving on.
Primaris Marines, over the course of their short history, so in total, they've only been around now for 200 years in universe, have had many
No,
different...
even here.
Yep, sure. I'll allow it.
200
have had,
years in my heart.
Space Marines aren't real. Primaris Marines are.
They have had many different titles to distinguish them from other types of Primaris Marines. So
Yeah, there's many different iterations and kind of legacies of Primaris Marines.
Yeah. So the very first one is the Awoken. And these were the first Primaris Marines to be created by Cawl and kept in the stasis tubes to be awoken during the Indomitus crusade. After 200 years since their awakening, there are still some around, but as time goes on, less and less of them will be seen. So just, they're going to die out eventually. There eventually will be no more Awaken.
Yeah, it's a title that you've earned and you can no longer earn it.
Yeah.
I mean, earned is a...
They earned it. They slept for so long.
They
All
were
that-
indoctrinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, just getting
Psycho
those-
indoctrination
Exactly.
of run at the guns.
Run at the guns.
That's what they're all saying.
Run at the gods.
As they stomp, that's what there's. Anyways.
40K the musical.
So the Torchbearers, these most likely are also awoken, but not necessarily.
But they fulfill a very different role than
Yeah.
what the Awoken did.
and they potentially are still around today. So the Torchbearers are specialized task forces that, in the wake of the Great Rift's creation, were tasked to make contact with specific Space Marine chapters and give them the ability to create their own Primaris battle brothers.
They were essentially the ambassador
Yeah.
of Primaris Marines to these chapters.
Yeah.
And it was their duty to introduce themselves and say, hey, look, this is what we are. This is what we're capable of.
Yeah.
We now can either give you some Primaris Marines that were created with your stock, like to join your ranks, and you can like learn from them and
Yeah.
join them and enter them into your fraternity. But also, here are the tools you'd need to create your own Primaris.
Yeah.
So in the cases where they couldn't provide them with bodies, these torchbearers, they would hand them, here's the organs, here's what it takes to grow them, here's the process. Because that was
Here's the war gear.
absolutely,
STCs.
yeah, that was such an important thing. Is it's way easier to transmit these small people with knowledge than it was to transmit hundreds of thousands of Marines to battlefronts.
Are the torchbearers just the Marines though? Because my understanding of what torchbearers was the groups that went out, because that also included the Mechanicum advisors and the custodies that went
Yes.
along. Because I believe all
I don't
these
know if
took a
do they all
custodian.
have the same title?
They would all have the same title.
So the torchbearers was a group.
Yeah, and Primaris are included in this group.
Yes.
but not exclusively
Exclusive.
Primaris.
Yeah, because I believe that most of these had at least they obviously had to have the Mechanicum guy who's doing all the work, and then I don't know if all of them had a custodian with them, but at least some of them did.
It would offer validity,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, like
and
it-
give them weight
Yeah.
when they spoke.
We're Scions of Terra. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. So the Torchbearers, one kind of cool thought we're throwing around is like they might just be like a squad of 9 Primaris Marines and all the other reinforcements or whatever. But like it might be one Primaris Marine from each of the original Legion.
Yeah, because you
And
never
it's just-
really know what chapter you're going to bump into. So
Yeah.
if you bump into an Imperial Fist successor chapter, they'll receive it better from their own genetic brother.
But then also at the same time, they might they obviously know what Baal is, so they would have sent Blood Angels to Baal, Torchbearer
Yes.
specific Blood Angels.
Yeah, so it very conceivably could have been mixed up Marines, or you could have just said, okay, it's very obvious that we're going here, so just send a single type. So it's just interesting to think about how in this era, like there are many things that are functioning differently, and especially it's crossing those chapter lines.
Yeah.
That seems to be happening a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, they might be around still. Like there's still parts of the galaxy that have not been reconquered or are still
Or brought into the fold of
or
back
have
into
been
the
cut
pyramid.
off by warp storms.
Absolutely.
So they could still be around, just definitely not in the same numbers.
Yeah.
So then we also have the Unnumbered Sons, or the Grey Shields.
Which was their unofficial title that they called themselves, because
Yeah.
I think they all wore some small gray heraldic shield that they kept gray because of where they were, even though the rest of their heraldry and livery was in their own colors.
Yeah. So these Primaris are the ones who undertook the Indomitus crusade. These armies were made of mixed gene line squads. They had the livery of their founding legion, but also a predominant badge that was crossed with pale gray chevrons.
There we go.
They would eventually disband from their own chapters, taking with them lessons learned from the battle brothers of other gene sires. So we talked about them earlier, like kind of why this happened.
That would be kind of a cool thing, like had I known the lore of the Grey Shields earlier, because like a lot of the Intercessor kits come with a little shield. It'd be cool to throw that on a couple guys and keep it gray.
yeah.
Like,
You could
oh,
still
these
do that now. Just random guys. There's
Yeah,
no
random
need.
guy-
There's no need to
random
be
guys.
uniform.
Yeah,
in it.
this guy was actually in the original.
I like that.
In the original campaign. And
That
he-
one sergeant that never dies.
Yeah, I'll throw it on
Give it to
his.
him.
Yeah,
He's the
it's
pointer.
happening.
The pointer guy.
That's
Yeah,
so good.
I played probably 15 games with him, and he has never died.
But
That's awesome.
there have been a couple times where he's just been reduced to that one guy left in
he's
the
the only guy
squad.
left
by
in
like
the
knights
squad.
and shit.
Yeah, and he's still alive.
he just runs away afterwards. He's a hero.
or is he a coward?
Yeah.
One of the two.
We'll see who writes the.
Why do you keep surviving your last stands?
Just really
I'm
good
not
at last
good.
stand.
They are my last stand.
Can I see your helmet footage? Oh, I lost the helmet again.
every time.
Because I'm so brave.
That's why he's unhelmeted. He always throws away his helmet. Oh God!
As I start running, gotta go fast. So that's the unnumbered sons. We touched on them, but yeah, it's very cool to think that they're fighting alongside each other, and this actually really plays into a lot of you get a lot of complaints nowadays from people like oh, that new Space Wolf box set isn't Space Marines or Space Wolves, it's just Ultramarines but gray. And part of that I think is because of the unnumbered sons, and when they're going to chapters or whatever, they fought beside everyone. They learned the Blood Angel ways, they learned this one, they all kind of mixed and mingled,
And they realized that Space Wolves was terrible.
yeah, and it's not like
They're like, buddy, why are you wearing so many furs?
That's not helpful. Why are there so many tooths and claws hanging off of your weapons?
Well, also my understanding is we talked about this on the chapters one too. They don't drink from the
Cup of the Wolf.
yeah. So they're obviously a different
Sure.
sector of unit, right?
No,
They are.
yeah.
I don't
feeds
mind
into what
that.
you're saying.
I definitely don't mind the way you've described it. I still don't like. I would prefer their model range to be unique. But if that was the reason they had to give me,
I'm trying to give GW some credit.
Yeah,
Well, you could make the argument that okay, yes, it's been 200 years, but maybe there's still these unnumbered sons in the units. They've still fought in that group way, and the general Primaris parts of the armies just haven't fully integrated into the culture of the chapters.
Yeah.
Give them
It's
long
possible.
enough and everyone becomes a Space Wolf eventually.
Yeah, like well, arguably that probably will happen,
you.
where they'll start making the models more that way,
Yeah.
and you could argue that in the lore that over time they are going to start integrating more
Into
into
the
the
chapter
culture.
culture.
Yeah, like you better
Absolutely.
believe we're gonna get actual Death Company Marines.
absolutely.
Like-
yeah. And we will get like Primaris intercessors with furs on their stuff and with like wolf iconography
Yeah.
covering their weapons.
they'll be long fangs
It's more
eventually.
important for them to release ranges that everyone can use right now because the range is so new.
Yeah.
So if that's the way you have to rationalize it
Yeah.
in the meantime, I don't mind that.
It's not
It
bad.
makes sense.
No.
It's not bad.
There are worse things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the next kind of title is The Indoctrinated, and these are Primaris Marines created after the original Awoken, made by Cawl, and they are like, so you know the
they're like the
torchbearers go
regular
to-
school.
Yeah,
Marines.
the torchbearers go. They give this chapter the template. This chapter starts making their Marines. They're called the Indoctrinated.
Yes. Yeah.
We also have the Ascended, and those are Primaris Marines who have crossed the Primaris Rubicon, transforming themselves from the Astartes to Primaris stats. What's happening here?
Christians
Just,
booty
just
is
a little,
cold.
just a little
Oh,
things that
your
don't need
arms
to.
are cold, but your body's warm, Mr.
Yes.
Vestman.
Could be one of the most useless articles of clothing ever invented.
But he loves it.
It's about style. It's about sending a message.
Oh my god.
Holy shit. So those are all the different titles that are primarily used. I'm sure there might be some other ones, but they're probably going to be like chapter specific. Like maybe the Dark Angels call their stuff something.
Yeah, no,
But-
I think that's actually pretty common that the Primaris Marines within a chapter are given their own name. But
Yeah.
an interesting thing about that is a lot of any titles that are chapter specific hail from their home world. So they're all influenced by their own languages.
yeah,
so there's
yeah,
no
that's a good point.
uniformity.
Yeah.
Like calling someone like the Wahoos, right? Like it doesn't mean anything on another planet, right? So
Yeah.
That is an offensive word on my planet.
you wanted to get
didn't
what
use it
with my
again.
mother? You can get the hell out of here.
So Primaris chapter organization
Is currently
is currently very fluid.
and unknown.
Yeah.
It's not set in stone the same way that Space Marine chapter was and has been for all these
Exactly.
years.
So we're going to kind of skip over it, but what we do know about Primaris chapter organization right now, and this will change 2 weeks from now when we
Absolutely,
get,
yeah.
when we get more Primaris Marines, and that's fine.
That's totally cool.
Um,
I hope it changes. We
yeah.
only need more Primaris things so they can just stop releasing Primaris things.
Once they get enough, they're going to have to stop and focus
Absolutely.
on something else. It's just
Absolutely.
right now they don't have
Yeah.
enough.
And then there will be guard releases.
Yeah, exactly. So we
Or-
just got to get all the Primaris
or
Marines
Sisters of
out of the
Battle.
way.
Or Custodes. Or Sisters of Silence.
Yeah,
Or just more Imperial factions, I think. They should create new Imperial factions.
Yes, I get behind that.
Let me run an idea
An
past you.
Inquisition.
The Ecclesiarchy. The Frateris Templar.
No, Superis Primaris. Sorry. You in?
You son of a bitch. Now you're speaking my
That was
language.
the only one you needed right there.
The Superis Primaris. So what we do know about the Space Marine chapter organization is they are still limited to 1,000 Space Marines in a chapter. Although you do have chapters that disregard this,
But that would be like, hey, are you codex compliant or not?
Yeah.
Like, how much of the codex do you actually follow?
Well,
Yeah.
and Guilliman has made it clear that the codex is a lot less strict than it used to be. So
yeah, so that rule, take it or leave it. Most of them are going to take it. Like the High Lords of Terror aren't founding chapters more than 1,000. Thank you. So they're also broken down into companies.
Do you have Corona?
I might.
That wasn't a dry cough. That was wet.
Oh,
That was
Definitely
like-
a wet loogie cough.
Yeah.
that made me nervous.
Primaris Marines also fall into one of three categories for unit designation: battle line, close combat, or fire support.
What's in the close combat designation?
Reavers.
Reavers.
Lieutenants.
Your entire command staff will be integrated into close
Is it
combat.
just Reavers? Because that's the only one I can think of.
There's one
would
other?
aggressors count?
I think aggressors.
They have power fists, right?
Yeah.
They do,
But
but
they're
they also
fire
have
support.
massive bolt storm. What are they called?
Boltstorm gauntlets.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That might be one of those things that they've left because they
Vague.
haven't done close combat.
Yeah, they haven't really focused on it
Because
yet.
Reavers are,
They're
awkward.
infiltration kind
yeah,
of.
they're
but they're not
they're kind of an
necessarily
awkward
like, hey,
place,
let's
yeah.
mess
Shock
you-
assault.
Yeah.
Inceptor.
Oh.
okay.
Really?
So they get close, and then they just gun you down at point blank range.
Yeah.
Inceptors are considered the
Yep.
close combat.
Assault, which are regular guys, Reavers and Inceptors. Then battle line are tacticals and intercessors. And then fire support are Devastator, Hellblaster, and Aggressors. And then if
Okay,
you go
okay.
into Vanguard, they're Vanguard Space Marines.
Yeah, where they have the
They have.
infiltrators and
Say it.
So
You
the
can't, because you can't remember what they're called, because they all sound the same.
they
The
do
Infiltrator is battle line. The Reaver is close combat. The Eliminator and Suppressor are fire support.
That makes sense. The eliminator and suppressor.
So the
Yeah.
aggressors weren't even listed.
Yeah.
No, you said them.
Did I?
didn't you? Yeah, they're the fire line.
Battle line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because they all sound the same. You can't tell.
Hey, keep your salt out of here.
Just because your memory is that of a goldfish doesn't mean the rest of us is.
So the touches. There's a pause and there's a touch. That is a crime.
Well, it is now.
I'm going to report you to the government because
Yeah.
you broke quarantine.
So yeah,
$1
like
million fine.
all of this is very potentially going to change. Who knows?
Yeah. They're adding so much stuff right now that to say like this is the hard and fast way that Primaris chapters function would just be arrogant.
Yeah, but I think at the same time,
And this
like-
podcast is not known for it.
but at the same time, I think these three categories can stay pretty consistent. Like
I
either
think
you're going
I
to
think
be
you
like,
can describe most as one.
yeah,
falling into
either
one
you're
of
going to
these.
be carrying a big gun, lots of melee, or kind of a middle ground, like
Or you'll carry a big gun into close combat and drop in with a jetpack.
maybe, and then
Yeah, with heavy bolters.
Maybe you'll have
Yeah.
throwing knives
What
and you
has
put
he
in the fire
done?
support.
Can you throw your pistol? That's all I care about.
Have you guys seen that one model? It's like a Space Wolf guy who can throw his thunder hammer.
oh
Yes.
yeah, Arjax.
Arjax.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I
Yeah.
love that.
It teleports back to him.
Like
Yeah.
you in the air. Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. So chapters also carry over the roles of like chaplains, apothecary, tech priests. Those all still exist. Veterans, banner bearers. Those all still exist.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Keep going, Mark.
You're on a roll.
So along with like new units and new styles of warfare, they were also given a bunch of new war gear. Cawl was not only tasked with upgrading Astartes, but also their equipment. Much of their war gear was made more efficient, deadly, and sleeker. However, the biggest change comes with the reintroduction of grav technology.
Specifically, the reintroduction. This
Yeah.
is not a new thing to exist in the Imperium at all.
And even within Space Marines, it's not a new
Yeah.
thing.
We were trying to, because when we were thinking of the episode, we were like, oh, they got a bunch of new stuff. That was like the initial thought that I
Yeah.
had is like, let's talk about all their new things. And then as we were thinking about it, we realized like literally everything that they have already exists. It's just been made better.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, like because the bikes were all grav in the Horus Heresy.
Yep, and
Land speeders. I honestly did not know they were grav.
Yeah, land speeders
Yep,
are grav.
land speeders,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're saying grav has existed. It is not
But
a
it
new thing
yeah.
for Primaris. It's not a new
I
thing to
think
the Imperium.
prevalence
repulsor,
isn't-
the repulsor field is new though. Is it not?
The repulsor field itself.
Yeah,
As
because-
Mark is talking about this,
Because that's the thing that's like it pushes you back because the field
I
is so
think that's
strong.
more just rules. It would have to be so strong to hold up that big of a thing as opposed to just a land speeder.
And support
or
it too when it fires a main cannon.
Yeah.
It doesn't slide across the board
Like-
in the reverse direction.
It's still grav technology at the end of the day. In my mind, it might be better. It might be slightly tweaked
Yeah,
even.
like a car is still a car if it's like a Model T or a
Ferrari,
yeah.
Like,
Sure. All right.
But hey, yeah, maybe it is a completely different way of doing grav.
Well, like the if you look at I don't know.
I know what you're
doesn't-
saying. Like, yeah, if you look at the grav technology on,
it looks different.
yeah, it has
quite
like those
different.
panels where like land speeders, they don't have that. Jet bikes, they don't have that.
Which it should also be noted too that it's not exclusive to vehicles because they use grav tech in like their jump packs
Yep.
too.
Yep,
And, like,
exactly.
stabilizer fins, you see them.
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
they've miniaturized it,
yeah.
like all technology.
So
gets
that's
smaller.
definitely the biggest thing
Yeah,
that
it's-
has like
So it's literally just the grav.
Oh, it's just
It's the nature
so
of the
strong.
technology.
Yeah, it's apparently like
Sure.
it's vented in special ways that can be used as a weapon.
vent
But
gravity.
Yeah, it's the pilot has it's like some off discharge of the energy that's created when the gravities are clashing. We don't know how gravity works, okay?
it's not real.
sounds
well, it-
like a lot of flat air.
But yeah, it's not
Me.
new. It's just
Sure,
grav.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
yeah.
right.
So even like the Redemptor Dreadnought, ultimately it's still just a Dreadnought. It's a walker. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
it's bigger.
That
it's
technology
tougher.
still exists.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even the Invictor Warsuit, like
As much as that one is also even more different than the original Dreadnought, it's
Yeah.
baby
Like-
carriers existed. They existed for Grey
well,
Knights, right?
this
Like
is even more similar to a Sentinel.
or even Centurions.
No, those are completely different.
But I'm saying it's
It's a war suit.
It's a war suit
Sure.
that you get in while wearing power
Okay,
armor.
I'll allow.
That was how I made the connection between Invictor and Centurions. Just you're wearing power armor, you step into this thing that's also wearing
power armor.
power armor.
On your power armor.
Yeah. Yo dog.
So that's kind of what we got for our actual Primaris outline there.
Yeah.
We do have a couple other
No,
side
he's
notes.
going rogue. He's going off the script.
No, it's all still
My
scripted.
God, what's he doing? I don't know.
Like obviously we could talk about their bolt guns or whatever. But
No,
it's all just
bolt
new.
rifles.
Bolt rifles. Assault bolt stock.
well,
dare you.
what they do is they put a spiral
Into the
inside the barrel, and then
They rifle the barrel.
They've never rifled.
What's new? This new technology.
My God.
All right, you see, we take this tube and we take this drill bit and we just shove one in the other. Better weapon.
Which one opens up to accept the other two? There?
The barrel. It's very obvious.
Are you the barrel or the drill, Eric?
What do you need me to be? Put me in, Colin. Do you want me to be the barrel or do you want me to be the drill? Put me in.
I want you out. I want you gone. Get off my property. So we're going to jump into a Tales of the Warp. And this one's going to be called The Effects of Primaris on the Galaxy. So the very first thing we have is called Firstborn. So one of the things that
Firstborn?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things
We've seen a lot of recently.
Yeah, and one of the things that needs to be made clearer is regular Space Marines need to have a name that is not called regular Space Marines.
Yeah.
Like it's
or
not-
like the joke
or
squads.
that. Yeah, like they need their own title.
because
And-
they're so different that you need a way when you're talking about your army, whether it's the lore or your tabletop itself, you need a way to say, these are my regular Space Marines and these are my Primaris
Yeah.
Space Marines without saying regular.
yeah. So
Small and large. Vente and
Grande.
my Grande Space Marine.
I'll have a Venti Space Marine, please.
So-
Hold the foam.
So the term Firstborn has often been thrown around.
And it's a
in-
fairly new term, right? Like
Yep.
it hasn't existed since before the Primaris
No.
lore came.
Yeah. And it has been thrown around as a way to describe the regular Marines. But upon doing research, we don't think that's an accurate way. It could go either way.
Yeah, so this has bugged me for a long time, this Firstborn thing.
Loses sleep over it.
I do,
Can't
yeah.
make love to his girlfriend successfully anymore.
Not successfully. That's
It's
for
a
sure.
strain.
He has to hire that out.
So
I got to drill for you, Eric. Got to get some rifling in there.
wait, I've been the barrel this whole time. God damn. There's kind of two places you can consume your lore from.
Yeah.
And one is in the
Three,
code.
actually. Warhammer.
Oh, okay.
We're rewriting history.
Yeah.
The other two are, from a codex.
Codexes and rule books, or from authors' narratives of how they perceive. Yeah, the dramatizations
Black
of
Library
40K. Yes.
Yeah.
But those are created by people who are
Dumb.
no, not dumb, but they're a little bit held separate from Games Workshop's like codex teams. It feels like
Yeah.
every time I read them, I get very different vibes
Absolutely.
from books, from codexes.
Well, I think the codexes are probably a little bit more committee driven, and
Yeah, I feel like a team
yes.
of people work on. It feels like a team of people work on codexes, but you very much get authors' perspectives from books, which is okay.
Well, but and I think that makes total sense, because if you write a codex that's like 60 pages, very easy to fact check that as a group. Like, okay, I see you made this claim here. We're gonna make sure that's a little bit more in compliance with the general lore,
Or we're going
Whereas
to
if
add a
it's
little more
book-
spice to this one, right? Like,
Yeah, if it's a book, it's hard to go through and fact check everything for the
Yeah.
universe, because it's the implications of one throwaway line could be huge.
which is okay.
They
Like,
obviously don't understand their audience.
yeah. But you need to have that understanding that there are kind of two separate places to consume your 40K lore before you come to any like hard and fast conclusions.
Me and Eric, we definitely prefer the codexes. Like,
Yeah.
if we have to pick one or the other, as like if there's conflicting information, we typically will lean towards a codex.
I love dramatizations, but just because it describes one Necron doing this, I do not take that as, yes, this is indicative of the entire Necron race. I
Yeah.
understand that it is one author's
That is one
perspective.
specific thing that happened
Yeah.
one time in the galaxy, where the codex is supposed to represent that
Absolutely.
as a race.
And I think you need to hold that idea in your head anytime you consume new story.
Yeah.
So first,
So all that said,
absolutely, because I get two different things
Yeah.
when I read story versus when I read codex, specifically about Firstborn.
Yeah.
So Firstborn is normally used to describe any of the original Space Marines that are not Primaris.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's actually how they're initially put forward in the Space Marine Codex.
Yeah.
So
So we found this here in the codex.
yeah, this is from the second release in 8 for Space Marines. So I call it the 8.5 Codex.
Okay.
And it's titled Primogenitor. The Primogenitors are those chapters created when the Ultramarines Legion was divided during the Second Founding, sometimes referred to as the Firstborn. These chapters each maintain their own histories and traditions, but they all honor Roboute Guilliman as their Primarch and adhere strictly to the procedures and tactical treaties he laid down in the Codex Astartes. Such names as the Genesis chapter, the Black Consuls, and Nova Marines have earned glorious reputations of their own in the last 10,000 years, carving out their own destinies.
Wait, can you read the key line there again?
Okay. Sometimes referred to as the Firstborn, these chapters each maintain their own histories and
good.
traditions.
Yeah.
So all of these chapters that this blurb is talking about came from Ultramarine stock, and they all emerged during the Second Founding.
Yeah.
And that is an interesting thing to note here, because a lot of people, when they say Firstborn, it's a catch-all phrase.
Yeah.
And when you read the Lexicanum and you read the Wikia, they very much so also communicate it as a catch-all phrase.
Yeah.
And I don't see it. So
In the codex, you don't see this
At all.
anywhere,
So-
except for this is the
yeah.
only mention of Firstborn in a codex.
absolutely. One of the strongest sources that Lexicanum and Wikia read more. One of the strongest sources that Lexicanum, the internet seems to give, is this book called Spear of the Emperor.
Okay.
And it's set after the Indomitus Crusade, after the Great Rift. It's on the side of the Imperium Nihilus. But there's this chapter called the Spear of the Emperor, and in it, Firstborn is referenced 4 times.
Okay.
So after I saw the source, I was like, oh, okay, I will go look at this source and see how they actually describe
So
it.
you ran to your nearest GW, bought a Coke and the book.
Cocaine and the book, so I could
He's gonna
consume
read
it.
the whole book in one sitting.
Yeah, 15 minutes, I'm done that. Focused. But yeah, so I'm taking a look at the actual context within the book.
Yeah.
And if I was to just consume the book, and I was not to look at any of the codex or this rules book, I would come to the conclusion that Firstborn are Old Marines. But every time they're referencing the Firstborn, they are also talking about Ultramarine successor chapters.
Yeah, that was
in that
interesting.
book.
Yeah. The only one that we didn't find, which isn't even listed anywhere, they were called Templars.
Yeah, so they listed this
But
one
they're-
chapter as a Templar, and they described them as red, white, and black.
Yeah.
But there is no chapter called the Templar that is official Games Workshop, right? That has red, white, and black as their colors. Yeah. But every other chapter they mention are successors, maybe not second, but they are successors of the Ultramarine chapter. And that's their strongest source for novelizations of the Firstborn.
Yeah. And lots of people are going to think, oh, well, the Black Templar, obviously. But there is like 7 or 8 named Templar faction or chapters. So
Absolutely.
Even that, it's like...
And the Black Templar is so well known, there's no way you would not put Black Templar.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd make the conscious effort to say Black Templar. So
That's fucking cool.
So I got I don't know where I stand on this. I think it depends on what you consume. If you're going to consume the novels, you would take it as, okay, Firstborn or any of them. But when I read the Codex, which is my main source of where I get like my facts from, I don't get that same impression. So I think Games Workshop needs to very much clarify what is a Firstborn. Is a Firstborn a second founding Ultramarine chapter? Or is it all the regular Marines?
I don't know if it's going to matter because
by the time
it won't matter because the old Marines are going to be
Here's
gone.
the reason
think they are, though,
Here's the
man.
reason why
That's
it does
such a
matter.
dumb thing.
Here's the reason why it does matter though, because we do need a name for it. And
Even if they're relegated to history.
absolutely, because you need to be able to talk about them in their histories. So
And also, like, even if they stopped producing regular Marines,
Firstborn. After all of that.
yeah, even if they do, like, GW still will allow their rules on tabletop. I don't think their rules are going
Well, they
anywhere,
started that whole-
Well, they've started Legends.
Exactly. So, like, and like, GW is still making regular Marines. We are
Because
still
they still
getting
sell.
Yeah, that's the
They're
thing.
not making
like,
new
Well,
kits.
didn't they just
Yeah,
come
they're
out
just
with those
reproducing.
2 word bearer
They're still
models?
making new kits.
The 2 word bearer
No,
models.
that's from Forge World.
That-
Forge World is
yeah,
different.
that's 30K.
No, but they are releasing. There was a
okay.
Terminator that came out not too long ago.
Yeah,
What-
they are still making them.
Yep.
They are still making regular.
as like
I don't.
features.
It doesn't matter. They're still making
because they
them.
sell. Because
That's
they
the
make
thing.
money.
That's the
and
point.
regular Marines
yeah.
sell.
Eventually,
They are
I
gonna
hold to
replace
that they'll
them.
be phased out. Eventually.
Sure, 20 years.
That's still
Absolutely.
a phase out, and that's still the
Absolutely.
intention. To
So are
phase
you
out.
going to call them squat Marines for 20 years?
No. Well,
That's the thing. Like
'Cause that's
they're
all I'm
not going
saying is-
anywhere even
Hold
next
on, hold on.
edition.
All I'm
Yes,
saying
yeah.
is we need a way to
there is no
describe
next
them.
edition.
You don't think? Anyways, you don't even know.
Nobody.
You don't
does.
even play the game.
But all I'm trying to say is that I'm okay with them being called Firstborns. I found this very clear discrepancy to myself while I was trying to research this, and I think James James Dirkshop. Do you remember
the
that?
James Stark shop.
Okay.
And they did it. they made it happen.
Games Workshop, I think, needs to be more clear on a title for their old Marines. Because are they just going to start calling them regular Space Marines? They can't
it's-
afford to do that.
So-
they need to give them some
Yeah.
way to distinguish themselves.
They'll probably give them some weird Latin sounding name like oldest
Oldest
Astartes.
Marinus.
Oldest Astartes.
Sure.
But
I think
all
you're
I'm
being-
saying is I want to see that clarified.
Sure, I think you're just being super pedantic, and like a phrase can have multiple meanings.
Did you
A
not?
phra-
There's no mention of Firstborn in any codex.
Sure, but it doesn't mean they can't start or that it can mean both.
And-
Things
and
can
all-
things can mean
All we're
multiple.
saying
Yeah.
is we just want it clarified.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that's the
I'm
point
just-
of this.
But also,
Like that's one person. It was a helot. a chapter serf. That's how they're
By
described.
the name of James Dirkshot.
No, it's like Anandras or something.
Of course.
But that's the name, and it's that one
It could
person
even be an
describing it as
unreliable
Firstborn.
narrator too.
Absolutely, that's what I'm wondering. But yet everyone is calling them Firstborn, and that's what Lexicanum describes them as. All I'm saying is that is
That's
that
not
true?
enough concrete evidence.
It's not
Sure.
enough for me to actually say like, yes, these are Firstborn. That's
Sure.
why I want more clarity, and I only seem to find proper clarity in their codex releases.
Yes, or in your fever
Yeah,
dreams.
no,
When the
I
Emperor
think
speaks
Fever
to you.
honestly,
dreams
I
are
think-
different
I think
category.
the codex is the best way to get information
Yeah.
because it does seem like they do.
I feel like I just ran a mile.
They do have the
Holy.
most
Sweating.
formally. The lore is most formally laid out in
Yeah.
either because there's also White Dwarf.
Yeah.
That's another place.
And
too.
those are also a massive source of information.
Yeah.
I think those two are the most. I feel like the team is very formal about what they put into those two.
They're very
situations.
intentional.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Very.
even like the Games Workshop's
You almost said James Dirkshop.
goddamn, their community page. It's not reliable. Like, I don't think they edit their language as specifically. It's one guy who's typing away in the basement
Well,
somewhere.
I think
you
those
know,
are
like-
since they're daily. It's a lot harder to get those
That
like
kind of
edited out.
fact-checking.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But like, yeah, like you said,
Clean up
codexes
your
are-
act, GW. Clean it up.
No.
No,
Yes.
the white dwarf and the codexes are definitely the way you should be
I have
getting
only
formal.
recently started to see the value of White Dwarf, and I'm kicking myself over the fact that, like, I consume codexes. I love reading them, but I've never given much credibility to White Dwarfs, and I think that's been such a shame on my part.
No. The only shame on your part is not painting your models. Let's focus on one shame at a time before you're already trying to
We've
jump
got a whole
off.
closet of shame
Yeah.
here. We got to
Let's
work
get through it before you add to it.
There's lots of shame. It's a big closet. Many things are going to come out of that closet.
It's a walk-in.
Yeah. It has its own room.
Well, I do plan on getting me a copy of White Dwarf at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to steal them from you.
That's what we
As
should.
soon as-
We should use the Lorehammer subscription for White Dwarf.
Yeah,
I wonder how much that costs per month.
80,000.
I mean,
It's
he
like-
knows. He just
it's-
bought it.
I haven't got it yet. Corona's a little making things tight, but I think it's like $120 or something.
For a year?
Something like that. Yeah.
That's like
So
4 releases.
I start Googling.
No, it's once a month.
Yeah.
Oh,
I start Googling White Dwarf subscription, and the first thing that pops up is White Dwarf subscription worth it? Question mark.
They've also sweetened the deal. They sometimes sell little models and stuff with them now.
Yeah.
Little paint.
I will be getting one at
It's
some point.
$110, and that is in Canadian dollars even.
Yeah, so it's like
Wow.
$9. $9 a month.
bad.
It's
not
it's
bad.
pretty good. I will be getting one. I'm just probably gonna wait for like the world to stop ending before I do.
Stop ending and start beginning.
Start continuing again.
But yeah,
there's our firstborn rant. We would like clarification.
I would.
Fair
I
enough.
think
I think
it's
that's fair.
necessary. Yeah. I don't feel comfortable calling them Firstborn based on the account of one author writing from the perspective of a chapter slave.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Is that how you see me? Monocle. Is that how you see me?
No, just in that statement.
Oh, okay.
Some chapters surf.
I will be right back.
So,
Gotta go get his monocle.
oh, he's taking a leak. He had to.
You gotta piss. When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Well, I tried to keep that off.
You just gotta piss in the bottle under the table like everybody else.
Me and Christian been using the same bottle.
We've been passing it back.
So our next topic is going to be, will regular Marines disappear? And we kind of touched on it.
Yes, is the answer.
The answer is obviously yes.
But
Eventually,
when?
Primaris Marines will disappear. Like eventually.
No, but this is a planned obsolescence.
Yes.
This
For
is
sure,
different.
it will. There's like
Absolutely.
Primaris. There's not necessarily a guarantee that those will go away. I'm sure if there are Games Workshops around in 60 years from now, I'm sure they'll phase them out for something else.
Yeah.
But
No.
Yeah.
There's
No.
for
We're,
sure
we're
the
all
case
on the
that
same
the
page.
squad
They
Marines
are
are
going to
going.
go.
And it
I
was
think the ti-
intentional.
Yeah.
That's mostly my thing. Is
Yeah.
that they, I think the timeline is just affected with how much money they can make.
Yeah, and
We can
I
still
think,
sell tactical kits, so we're not going to recall them. We're not going to stop producing them because that's money that we're not making. right?
and I think too, the regular Marines still hold two very huge categories of vehicles and airplanes
which will be replaced eventually.
eventually. But that's
they-
a lot of kits
And close
that they-
combat.
and close combat. That's a lot of kits that they have to replace before even like regular Marine sales drop. So like. Yes, they're going to disappear. But for timeline wise, I really don't think it's going to be in the next 10 years.
Maybe.
It might be.
Well, let's think about how fast they've been going through the new kits. I'd say it's been 2 years, and they've got a lot of models out.
Yep.
In that time.
Yep.
I think that I'd say within 5 years, I think they'll stop.
That's
start,
possible.
Stop. They'll start stopping.
Yeah.
And start beginning.
Like, honestly, that's possible. It very well is.
5 years is still a decent amount of time, though. That's a sixth of its longevity, right? So of the longevity of Games Workshop as a whole.
Yeah.
Like many other things have not lasted this long, right? So
Yeah. The other interesting thing too about the regular Marines is, so I've been building the Liber Malleus, and their kits are new.
they're there's many things in these kits
good.
that I had never seen before.
Yeah,
They've come out. They're new relative not to Primaris though.
No.
They were upgrades from older.
So they're still coming out with new regular guys, but even those old tactical boxes are still like 2015.
They're very
Like they're
good kits.
still new. They're just as
Yeah.
new as you guys are saying they're going to be gone in 5 years. They're only 5 years old right now. Like they're new kits.
I mean, relative to Primaris Marines though.
Like
they were released prior to Primaris Marines.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you also thought something that was written in 2011.
Yeah, but that's different. That's not.
Oh, okay.
Because production time
I know what
for
you're
models
saying.
is a lot longer.
I guarantee
It's
you,
slower.
they were making those models knowing that Primaris was still being made.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it.
Absolutely. Everything is three years behind.
Yeah, but there was
Three
also
to
there
five.
was a huge shift in like GW leadership too. So
And I think that
could've-
has a lot to do with, like we were talking about earlier, though, like the company has gotten a lot more aggressive in all of their marketing, in their releases, and in their in
Expanding
general.
the market.
So here's another
They're
interesting
aggressive,
thing.
yes.
Like they're coming out with a bunch of TV shows and shit, and they're featuring regular Marines.
That's true.
That's a good point.
That is a good
Regular
That's a
Marines
very
are
good
not
point.
going
Consider that.
anywhere anytime soon.
Okay,
Sure.
now hear me out.
Yeah.
Aliens.
To be
no,
fair,
no. What
too,
did you actually have something to say? Or
Well, okay, so whether or not this is true, I'm hesitant to say because I hate like circulating rumors, especially in the community. I'm fairly certain.
Only facts.
Eric loves rumor mongering.
No,
nobody rumor mongers as hard as you
like
do.
to be clear when it's a rumor, when it's fact.
Do you remember when Primaris was first released?
I was right. I was 1,000% right. It was
He
a
was
really
right.
grainy photo.
He was right,
You
but
owe
do
me
you
a moment
remember
kill
that?
still for that.
No.
Do you remember that conversation in the garage?
Yeah.
And it literally,
I was literally sitting right here.
I left.
He was actually.
Literally.
I left. How often do I leave an argument? But I was so sick and tired of the bullshit that you two were spouting.
Eric's
But
claim to fame.
was I
How often
right?
do I leave an argument?
But Christian was right.
Like
yeah.
1,000% from a grainy photo. I even described what the
It-
faceplates would look like as Mark.
It was a little wild, and I very vividly remember that
Good. I'm
moment.
glad
But it's
someone
one of the
does.
few times that I truly had any modicum of.
respect.
That's high regard. That's not the word we were looking
I'm
for.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I do remember that. You do rumor monger.
Sure, but I want to be clear when I am.
Okay, so what do you say?
So, and this may or may not be even confirmed. I don't know. I just don't remember the source. But it was said that the Primaris Marine range was manufactured not as Primaris Marines.
Yep.
Yeah,
They were
I remember that.
manufactured to be suits of armor to replace the armor.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But they were
originally
always
as
meant to be
well.
regular Marines.
Yeah.
Inside the armor. So all this lore, all this other crazy stuff around it was just like conjured out of thin air.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it's a continuity of Space Marines in its original inception. So while they're remaking the tactical Marine kit and they're working on this Primaris set, they're like, oh, it's just an upgrade of armor, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't know the mindset of the sculptors. You don't know the
Sure.
mindset. And then the whole thing was that the marketing team changed the whole Primaris thing to become its own thing. Allegedly. I
to
don't wanna
support
slander
what
the
you guys are
marketing
saying
team.
too.
I do.
If you think about something like a different medium, like let's say Star Wars, what's the most iconic suit of armor? It's not the clone trooper one. It's the original stormtrooper costume.
Yeah,
right?
from
That's
episodes
the-
4 to
You
6.
clearly
Exactly.
have never
Seen Darth
Boba
Vader.
Fett. Oh.
And Boba
So,
Fett. Yeah.
so that my point is though that like when you're talking
Gungans.
about the shows, when you're talking
Eric
about
is
like the
enlightened.
videos and the marketing of anything like that, the visual aspect, there might just be a habit of harkening back to that original nostalgic
Might be.
look. just like they do with Star Wars, where they're always marketing that original Stormtrooper costume.
Yeah, like I mean,
Like,
they're still
it's a
producing. Like you see,
Yeah.
like they have the new
I could see
Stormtrooper
that.
look even now. They had clone troopers, but you still find Star Wars memorabilia with the original
Yeah,
Stormtrooper.
that's what
helmet.
most people.
So
harken
you're
back
just
to.
you're just thinking that they're intentionally not doing Primaris. They're intentionally doing the old Marines to harken back to that feeling of nostalgia in all these new media releases that we're seeing.
I don't know if I'm not. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm
as
not
a
saying-
potential.
Yeah, like it's
no.
it's
That's not a
possible.
terrible explanation.
It's something that is familiar. The Primaris are controversial as far as lore goes. Everyone loves the model. Like I don't know anybody who says they look worse than the old models, but people. You've said it to me, Mark. I've heard you say it. So what I'm just saying is people might harken back to that iconic image of the huge shin pads and the huge boots on the old guys
and the distinctive helmet. Too.
Exactly.
The classic
It's
Space
a very
Marine
distinctive
helmet.
helmet.
Yeah. Is
so
very much
it might just be one of
No,
those.
that,
situations.
I don't think that's a terrible insight.
explanation.
Let's go deeper down the rabbit hole. What if
40 chess. Let's do it. Okay, go.
What if GW is keeping them around to sell 2 model lines? They advertise a lot of the regular ones, so they sell those regular ones, and then like a week later they go and search and like, what the fuck are these Primaris Marines? Oh, they're just bigger, better. I'm gonna buy these ones.
Why
now.
did I spend $1,000 on old Marines?
Yeah, and now they go buy a second army
Well,
of the same army.
yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Obviously,
Or is it, though?
Obviously, I believe it. It's fucking crazy.
Obviously, I wore my tin hat to this meeting.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, I don't think they're going away anytime soon.
Well, soon is just a relative term.
It
You
is.
you think like, hey, 5 years, totally they're going to be here.
I think so.
And other people think like, no, 5 years. So we all know they're going to disappear at some point. It's just a matter of when,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where
Yeah.
the real big disagreements comes in. Disagreements. What's the right word?
Even for me, I'm not 100% sold that they're gonna disappear
Really?
eventually.
I think that's a very
like-
rare
like,
opinion, though.
Of course, everything eventually. We talk 50 years from now, sure.
Mark, when we start colonizing Mars, they will be gone.
Yeah, but like, they're still selling the models like hotcakes. I get so many messages where people are like, oh, I started a new army. And then people send me what they bought. And it's like, oh, you bought Space Marine bikes, or oh, you bought Assault Marines.
But because those exact units are not available
Assault
yet.
Marines.
Are not available yet in Primaris.
Tactical Marines. Oh, you bought Terminators.
Right, you literally picked the 2 worst examples, though, being bikes and...
Tactical
The point
Marines.
is
like,
made, though.
The point
I
is
get the
made.
point.
Like, I
Yeah,
still see
or they're
people,
rhinos, right?
Yeah,
like,
and that's a big thing. Like, they're still selling.
So
Why would they get
here's
rid
the
of
thing
it?
too, though. It could be intent versus what the market is now dictating. They intended to replace them. Like, oh well, what the heck? We're selling both. Let's just keep doing this. It doesn't cost us anything.
So I don't know. Here, I guess is the big thing. So I don't know how long molds work, but I know eventually molds wear out. So I think probably once the mold wears out,
they won't.
that will be
bother
the end of
resurrecting
it. But like, I don't think it will be because our 3 years have gone. Now we're pushing Primaris, only Primaris. I think it'll be we've lost the moldability. And
Really?
we're not going to make a new mold.
Or that's what they'll tell you. 'Cause
Sure.
That's what they want you to think.
I don't know the exact process, but I do know molds wear out.
companies would throw things out if it wasn't making money before its usefulness comes out.
Yeah.
But either one could happen.
Yes. It's just what came first, right?
Yeah. But as of right now,
I
people are still buying regular Marines.
The mold
I
broke
could
before the guard
also-
did.
I could also
Yeah.
very much see as soon as they feel like they have a complete range of Primaris,
Yeah.
because they've been pumping out so
Yeah.
much.
And that's what I
also
think.
could-
I think it's an acceleration to get to the point where they completely replace the old Marines, and then they're just like in one shot, just snap their fingers. And
I
it's
see
gone.
that
We're
more
still a
likely.
long
but
ways
yeah,
off, though, from
where we
that.
are from that, I have no idea.
Like, if you look
and
at the
Games
Space
Workshop
Marine-
is so chaotic in its
Well,
releases.
oh,
like,
yeah.
how can you accurately predict what Primaris Marines are going to be
Well-
from a small, grainy picture?
The other thing too is like
from
they-
like 5 years ago.
They actually haven't. So they really the last thing they released was the Invictor Warsuit and the
Is that
Vanguard.
really the last thing?
yeah,
they
that was the
released?
last new model. Otherwise, it's just been
Other three
characters,
heroes,
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah, just characters
and upgrade sets. Yeah.
But it's almost been what 8 months. I know that for if
Oh
you're
wow, that's a long. I hadn't thought about that, but it's been 8 months.
it's
Holy.
now I know that's not a lot for other armies. Like
It's been 8 long years for me.
but to make the point that it's been a while since they've released a new unit. I know.
Like they still don't have a great like assault unit.
Well, talking about grainy photos, we have those bike / land speeder grainy photo pixelated.
Are
is
you
this
here to
a rumor?
rumor monger?
As someone who accurately predicts Primaris Marines from grainy photographs,
And yea, we bring the oracle Christian to the podcast.
Christian.
Please,
He
brothers,
requires Mountain Dew
Yeah.
and Doritos.
remove your hood and slash thy forearm in a sacrifice of blood, so he may read our futures and predict the outcome.
September 2021, all old Marines will be replaced.
Okay, write that down.
Are you?
No,
okay.
I'm not.
I was gonna.
But
Are you
maybe.
actually channeling right now?
Did we just open something?
Anyways, I think we've all made our points.
Yeah.
Next one, we're going to talk about the culture change. And
I really like thinking about this, actually.
Yeah, we kind of touched a little bit on it, and like my whole thing was the whole gray shields mixing with their other gene sires and then separating out. That's why we haven't seen like a really big culture shift yet. That's why Primaris Marines still look like Primaris Marines as opposed to Primaris Blood Angels or Primaris Space Wolves.
Do you think that like, are we talking just lore?
Yes, we're talking
Yeah.
the culture within a chapter. Do you think it's been affected some way by this infusion of new Primaris Marines? Yeah.
How could you not be?
Well, and what's the change? Like, are the Blood Angels still the same Blood Angels that you know and love? Are the Black Templar the same righteous, pure, zealous people that they've always been? Or,
Yeah.
or
Are they
has
super toned down
Has something
now?
changed now that
just
Primaris
imagine.
has been introduced?
Well, there's two ways to look at this. The first
There are
one
two
is
schools of thought.
the first one is when you talk about a chapter like the Blood Angels, almost all of it is Primaris now because the rest of it all be killed.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about the general average Blood Angels trooper, he's gonna be a Primaris, and he's probably gonna have a very generic personality as far as like the culture goes, right? But remember, the other way of looking at it is all of the hierarchy of all the chapters is either Rubicon or
Yeah, either they've ascended
The
or they're
leadership.
firstborn.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
So, I mean, if they're in control of how the culture is being developed, you could probably make a good point for it being still consistent. Like, even though there's this infusion of Primaris, all the guys that are making decisions and deciding how things are done are the old guys.
I'm going to throw in a third school of thought.
Oh my god.
The worlds that they recruit from, a lot of the cultures doesn't even come from the chapter. It comes from the planet that they recruit from. So sure, the new Primaris ones who are from Terra are the ones that were awoken. They're, there's going to be this weird middle ground. But once, they get an actual like person from Ball, ascended to a Primaris Marine, he's going to bring all the culture of Ball with him. So then he brings that back into the Blood
Yeah,
Angels,
because
right?
there's so much culture in the mutant pools of Ball.
Apparently there is.
No, but
Yeah.
I totally get what you're saying, but I even think that like Space Marines are really big on fraternity, and that's something that I've started to really lean into anytime I try and like flesh out my understanding of a Space Marine chapter. Is how does the fraternity between battle brothers work? What does it mean for them to fight alongside their brother? How much do they actually care about each other? Because some chapters care more than others, and some have stronger ties to each other than others. And so with the infusion of Primaris, until everyone is Primaris, is there a difference in culture, do you think, now that 70% of you are Primaris and 30% are part of this old fraternity that believed themselves to be the defenders of humanity and the Emperor's ultimate creation? And now that, like, Blood Angels, I think, is a good example of a chapter that is very close to becoming completely Primaris, but there are still other chapters out there who don't necessarily have that advantage. And so what if it's 50-50? How is the culture shifted in that chapter? Are these Primaris fully accepted into the old fraternities and brotherhoods that these chapters have had?
I think that's just case by case.
I-
Some chapters
But
are
I
more
like
leery.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
What chapters do you think would readily accept them in, and what chapters would be a little more like, ooh, I don't know about these Primaris guys?
Well, from another chapter, the Dark Angels, they've interpreted as they're hesitant to allow them into the inner circle.
Yeah, which
But
is higher,
they-
higher up.
Yeah, but they have accepted at least one. So that new character that they've put through, is
But also,
a
how
member of the
high
inner
is that circle? Because he's only a lieutenant. So
Well, he is, from what I understand, he was a member of the Inner
He is.
Circle.
That's like actually
So-
stated.
I
That's no
believe
question.
So.
What's
I
his
believe
name?
So.
Lazriel.
What?
Azrael?
Lazriel?
Oh, Laz, yeah. You know, he's in my book. I should know that, right?
We'll just add an L on his name, and he's different than Azrael. Also, that new
the
captain.
Dark
Oh yeah,
Angels
they
are
made that new
Jewish.
captain. Sorry, they just released a new captain for Dark Angels too. I totally forgot. I was thinking about the lieutenant.
They released
That's
the
real.
captain?
Yeah,
Yeah. Lazriel.
he like just came out not that long ago.
What?
Am I behind on my releases? Oh my god, and I can't even
Is
order
it-
right now.
I thought it was
Oh,
just
sorry, Lazarus. Sorry.
Oh my god, I'm trying to find Lazrael? Like, what the fuck?
There's not a new
Lazarus.
captain.
Lazarus.
Yeah,
That
there
makes-
is.
that makes
Lazarus,
sense.
that guy.
Yeah.
Isn't
He's
he
not a captain.
Primaris
He's
captain.
captain of the Dark Angels
Oh,
5th
okay. Well,
Company.
why'd you say he was a lieutenant?
No, because there's also the lieutenant that they released.
Oh,
too. Now they
right,
have
right,
two
right,
characters.
right,
I totally
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about the captain.
But the lieutenant's not in the Inner Circle. Just
Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, why would a lieutenant be in the inner circle?
No, this
yeah,
guy
you're
is.
talking about the captain.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Which
But
makes
so
sense.
I think it would be a thing where they're hesitant to allow these guys in on the secret, but because you could argue that they had nothing to do with it, right? They were all from the pure gene before the
Yeah, whatever it
before
is
the
that they're
fall and-
guarding, these Primaris Marines have no foothold. They have no
It's not their
reason.
sin.
Exactly. That's a very good way to
Yeah, I
describe
don't
it.
know. I hope they do lean into that whole story because there could be a really interesting tension between the Primaris coming in and be like, "Oh, well, I don't feel the need to hide this. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with me."
So, Black Templar, a very common thing was their need to redeem themselves for failing in the Great Crusade. So they go on an eternal crusade instead. Do the Primaris Marines also feel this
Inherit
need?
that, yeah.
Yeah, like that's my question is what has changed from chapter to chapter? And I think that I'm not looking for an explanation or an answer right now. I guess I'm doing is I think
Asking the
that's something
question.
we should explore. Like anytime you write stories about your chapter, explore the change in culture.
dynamic between
Yeah,
each
I don't
chapter.
think enough people because after reading that Spear of the Emperor, I want to go start reading more Space Marines.
Sure.
I put off like a lot of Space Marine reading just because like I was like
You heard too much of me talking.
There's Xenos, and I find Xenos just maybe more fascinating, but in the books, like the Space Marines are very human.
Yeah.
And even if I don't think that's what they are in the codex or in how they actually should act, like that's how they're all represented.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to change my perspective on like, okay, what does it mean to act as a Space Marine? What does it mean to like hold like that honor? And so I'm trying to figure out like, what does it mean for a Space Marine to be told like you're now obsolete and that this person is your future and your legacy and nothing.
You're training your replacement.
Exactly,
And then they're
like,
gonna
what does
fire
that-
you without severance.
What does that mean to them? So I'm excited.
It
to
would be an
explore
interesting
those.
thing. I haven't seen anything. I don't know if there's
It's
been
all
much.
very amicable.
Yeah, everyone's just happy friends. Go
Yeah.
friend time.
Yeah.
Happy friend time.
I haven't
Funland.
seen honestly a lot of that conflict
Yeah.
in play.
I'm not even talking about conflict. All I'm just talking about culture changes.
Emotional conflict.
Has the Black
emotional
Templar
cultural
yeah.
conflict?
Has the
yeah.
Black Templar culture changed? Has
Yeah.
the Dark Angel
I don't
culture
think that-
changed as they've
I
had
don't
to
think it
accept
will.
these?
I don't think it will because
Because the heroes won't die. So they're definitely not going to change the entire.
Well, the heroes won't
personality.
die.
But
and-
heroes do not create the relationships between a Primaris brother and a Firstborn brother. That is entirely up to them within their own fraternity. They're not
I was
responsible.
making kind of
for
a
that.
meta joke, Eric.
Oh, yeah.
Like if they're not even willing to kill the main characters, they're not going to change what Black Templar are fundamentally. They're not going to change
Yeah.
what Dark Angels are fundamentally. They won't even kill the.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
less.
I agree
talking-
with you.
Yeah.
Like eventually, yeah.
I'm less talking about those.
The
and
meta,
I
yeah.
more enjoy talking about what it means for like, a chapter that
could it
you
mean?
created.
Oh,
right. What does
sure.
it mean for the Liber Malleus when eventually they do get Primaris?
Yeah, but they're not ever. Gonna.
Sure.
I guarantee you, I will never paint a Primaris Marine for my entire life. I guarantee.
Don't
it.
say that.
I guarantee.
Don't
it.
do that, Mark.
I
Retract
will
that. Retract
never-
that right now.
I will
The day
never.
he does is the day he dies.
Yeah, honestly, I'm never.
So,
I'm,
we'll be in your
I
funeral in
I fucking hate
2022.
Primaris Marines. I've held it off this entire episode. I will not spend my money on something I hate.
Their models are
There
so
are
good.
there are so many cooler things in 40K that I would rather spend my money on. And to me, Primaris Marines is such a small fucking niche thing. It doesn't matter
That's half the game, but yes, a small niche.
in the setting.
Well-
they're a small niche thing.
Sure, yes, of course.
because Tau is one of your armies, and that's a small need.
And I bitch about them too.
But you
though.
have an army.
No, but I enjoy them though.
Yeah.
No, he's just saying it's easy to avoid them.
Yeah,
he never has to.
I don't have
I
to
know.
play Primaris.
He could play
know.
every Eldar world,
Craft world.
over playing a single Primaris army.
No,
Exactly.
I get it.
I don't think you do. I think
I fully
fundamentally
understand.
misunderstand.
I
what
fully
I'm-
understand your
I think we need to put on our
hatred.
suits of armor and go rumble.
Holy.
All right. Well,
We did it. Is that another episode? Was it? There was one more talking point, but it wasn't.
You don't want to do it?
I don't know. What was it?
Says, what would you like to see from them in the future?
Oh.
What would you like to see from Primaris?
James, you're the Primaris guy. What do you want?
what do I, like lore wise?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Lore wise, I'd like to see the more dynamic aspects to the character of them. I feel like they're very bland right now in almost every respect. They're just the same thing but bigger, and it doesn't really mean anything because the universe is already scaled up all the way anyway. So it doesn't. I'd like to see Primaris not having that generic feeling, which we've
Sure.
talked about, where like the gray shields effect, basically, where everybody's just we all work together. We're all soldiers fighting in the same way. I want to see the wolf pelts on the Primaris. I want to see
Absolutely.
the
I want to see the
tabards
chain-
on the Templar.
I want to see the
Yeah.
chains on the Templar's
Exactly.
weapon.
I want to see them.
Thankfully, that's only a matter of time.
Yes.
Yes,
of
but
course.
I just mean story wise. I want it to be emphasized more why that would happen.
Sure.
Because the way we've talked about it, it does make sense. Like, I'm a Dark Angel Primaris. Why would I give a shit about any of the fallen crap? That doesn't have anything to do with me.
It's also
Can
not
I,
their genetic heritage.
It
Can I
isn't.
raise this idea? So, with Primarchs coming back, maybe not. Who knows if they actually are bringing more out? But if Lionel Johnson came back, that would have a drastic effect on all the Primaris Marine and how they would do it. Because the whole reason Dark Angels are Dark Angels is because of what's your face about, Christian?
I'm liking this.
Oh, but yeah, like the whole reason Dark Angels are Dark Angels.
Was that your? Never mind.
He came as pants, for sure.
Yeah, that was an interesting. No wonder.
Yeah, so like as the chapters get their Primarchs back, they would then bring in that flavor again, once again, just like they originally did.
Yeah, and it could
perhaps.
even be even stronger because you don't have.
You see, that would
But
be perfect.
would
for
it
me.
take
I
the
would like that.
Primarchs coming back to infuse the chapter?
I don't think you would
think
have
it-
to, but I
But
think
that
it'd
would
be a way to
do it.
accelerate.
It would be
I
a very
want-
cool way to do it.
I want there to be a reason for a Black Templar to be a Black Templar if he's a Primaris. And
Sure.
it just feels like the Primaris thing would just be like, these guys are all just beneath me. Why would I care what their philosophy is? I'm
Yeah.
a Primaris.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Well,
either,
they come
though.
from different stock. Like as much as they came, like they both are sons of Dorn. Like it's very obvious that these sons carry like this sin and this weight. And literally, Imperial Fist and Crimson Fist and Black Templar, Primaris, all those three are literally the exact same at their moment of creation. There's no difference. Whereas right now, if you create Firstborn Imperial Fist and Firstborn Black Templar, they are very different from their inception just due to the mutations within their gene seed. But an Imperial Fist Primaris and a Crimson Fist Primaris are both made with the exact same genetic code. There's nothing different in them other than the color on their armor when they were initially created. That's
like
the
people.
weird thing.
Doesn't matter the color of your skin. We're all the same.
We all die easy.
Is that a threat? Did you just threaten every black person?
So if I were to make a change, I would want there to be an impetus for each chapter to force a Primaris to be one of them. Because I love the cultures of all of them. I love the culture of the Black Templar. I love the culture of the Blood Angels. But why are you one of them unless you have...
Why do you feel the genetic attachment when you don't?
Why are you part of their
when you don't have the genetic heritage?
Counterpoint to you guys is you guys look at this like Primaris coming in like the big dogs in the yard. They very much are blank slates in every way, and they could be absorbing and consuming like, oh yeah, like that's Helbrich, man. Like, do you remember him from whatever lessons they taught us? Like, oh yeah, he's so cool. What does he have to say?
Sure.
What are we part of? We're open to becoming you.
I'm not saying that's
right?
not possible. I haven't... experienced that in reading the codexes. I haven't experienced that flushed out as to why a Primaris wants to do that.
Sure.
It just feels like it's
It
just
needs
like
to happen.
It seems
It
kind of
needs to
like
happen.
it's just lazy almost. To
It just
me,
hasn't
in
been done.
It feels like it's been shoehorned. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're in this chapter and you fully believe everything that every other person in the chapter does, even though you don't come from the same place.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
That's what it kind of feels
all
like
I
right
want
now.
is that to
Yes,
be
sure.
flushed out. If there was a lore thing for that, that's what I want.
The interesting thing, though, is that it could very well be different chapter to chapter. For some, it might well take their Primarch coming back for them to fully
like, adopt.
feel absolutely.
Like
and for
what?
others, it
Like
could be
the Space Wolves. That would be one, yeah.
And for the others, or allowing them to drink from the cup of Wolfen. Primaris Space Wolves do not drink from the cup of Wolfen. They do not have the Canis Helix.
Yeah.
How is that not instantly created a
Huger's like
a
rift.
schism in
Yeah.
your entire chapter?
Remember that
culture?
one time too when like even their gene seed doesn't work if you don't drink from the Canis
Absolutely.
Helix?
How?
Do you remember like how this
is
whole
such-
operation was a
Bullshit.
This is such, but that is such a great example of something that
I
is
agree with you, Mark.
needing more explanation.
Yeah.
And I'm saying you take the fact that there are those differences, and you just hypothesize and extrapolate. What does that mean for every chapter? We already know it exists for this one. Why can it not exist in this one? Maybe to a lesser degree. But for some, like if it takes a Primarch come back, bring the Primarch back. If it takes
Roll Goldorn.
if it takes
Drop
every
him on
single
my table.
member,
He's dead.
well, he's not. Is unconfirmed.
Bring him and Sanguinius back, and then we'll all be okay.
But if it takes every member of the inner circle of the Dark Angels to become Primaris, to create an actual bridge between them, do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't wait. Right? Like, create an actual reason why it makes sense. I don't know. Just the whole the sponge, I don't mind. I just don't like it for every chapter.
Sure.
I think that every chapter is so different. It would take something different for every chapter to fully
Exactly.
accept
That
these
flavor-
guys.
it's up to you,
Seems
the
like
creator,
something to
to
do.
do that.
you, little people. Cool. Anybody else got anything?
I think they need another war suit that they get into.
You being
In fact,
sarcastic?
Yeah.
I think the war suits need war suits.
Yeah, it's like a step up. A step
We
above.
need a Titan size.
You really like to
space
meme,
marine.
don't you?
I'm the memeiest of meme people.
You can tell the light is completely
he's
gone out of
dead.
Mark's eyes.
He's done.
Yeah,
He held back for over almost
I did good.
a lot of minutes that we've been talking about this. Woo!
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna bring life back into my life.
Don't worry, I have a video for you. After.
I'm excited. I'm in. I'm back in. All right, let's end the podcast.
Well,
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks guys for listening to the Primaris episode, the first of many, obviously, as Primaris takes its time in the spotlight.
Or takes its toll on our souls.
Yeah.
Both. Two things can be true.
Every
Why
day-
not both?
Every day you guys don't give me lore posts for the Instagram page.
it's just more
another Primaris week.
My God, he
do it
knows where to
forever.
He's
hit
all
us.
powerful. He can't be stopped.
Yeah, but thanks for listening. Check out our Facebook, check out our Instagram, join our Imperial Tithe to make
Yeah,
us a
really.
better.
Please, if you can, join our Patreon.
Yeah.
It helps us create the content that you're listening to. Also, check out those other podcasts. Check out Killbox
Killbox.
if you want to hear me
Yeah.
and the other guys. Like, it was a fun podcast. So check out Onibrush
Onibrush, yeah.
on Instagram if you want something commission painted.
Yeah. And
Painting contest on Discord.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of our Lorehammer lockdown episodes that are going to be coming out.
Yeah, we got a couple good ones. We will be having, I know a bunch of people message every day on our Instagram. We will be having Colin from Cold Open Stories on.
Ooh,
Yeah,
confirmed.
Yeah,
confirmed.
apparently that's what the people want, and they won't shut up about it. So, you know me, I'm benevolent.
Just
and
go
I
listen to
give the
his
people what they want.
podcast. No, I'm just
Over
kidding. I
and
miss
over.
Colin. I haven't heard him I haven't seen him in a while.
No, I do like Colin. So yeah, well,
Genuinely.
genuinely.
I mean, I like Colin.
Oh God, I don't like that tone. That's a Dan Boucher tone.
God damn. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later.
Hey, yeah.